have this recurring charge on my monthly statement, and I can't figure out what it's for.
Well, we'll certainly do our best to help you. What does the charge say in your statement?
Well, it's a $275 charge, and it just says Iraq War.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. The Iraq War cost the average American family over $16,000.
Are you kidding? Well, I never signed up for that.
I'm sorry, ma'am, you don't sign up.
Because law enforcement takes human suffering and turn it into cash.
JohnFilax, uncompromising truth, peaceful resistance every week.
Because you, first of all, you rarely recover anything. You rarely prevent anything. No, it is true. I'm a police accountability activist for about 20 years now. How many bad cops have you arrested?
Whoa. What is up? What is up, my people? All 10 of you. Welcome to Resisting Without Violence with your host, me, the man supreme, JohnFilax. How's it going? How's everybody doing? I sent out, let's see, I didn't send you the invite, did I? So, let's see. I'm going to freestyle this a little bit. Never done a political podcast because I'm scared to say stuff that I think, because this is kind of how I make a living. So what do I want to say? Okay, let's start off. This is going to be political. I'm going to talk about police. I'm going to talk about other creators, other influencers, other political commentators. I'm going to talk about news stories. I'm going to talk about random stuff. But to me, it's all important because it's my thoughts. Obviously, I'm going to think it's more important. So please click the thumbs up. The 11 of you that are here, bless you so much for showing up. I really appreciate that. The 14 of you that are here. I'm going to do this one a little different. I'm going to do it just like they do it. You know, there's going to be commercials. I'm going to request financial support. If you can't do it, you can't do it. It's completely voluntary. Simple as that. And how I'm going to do that is, I don't know, I'm going to say $5. Anyone that Cash App only. Forget YouTube. Let's cut YouTube out of this. YouTube's been killing me for like 4.5 years now. Can barely get by. So anyone that Cash Apps me $5, $ JohnFilax, I will read your comment. I'll plug your channel. I will say what you want within reason. I'm not going to say anything racist, bigoted, violent. So that's $ JohnFilax. I also have a couple sponsors. Let's see. I have one sponsor. I lost Through Night as a sponsor of the flashlight company. She just ghosted me. She probably got tired sending me flashlights for free. Whatever. It is what it is. That's business. But let's go here. Let's go here. You got America's Billiard League. What is America's Billiard League? If any of you play pool, and I know a lot of people don't play pool, but you should play in this league, even if you don't play pool, because it doesn't matter how bad you are, how good you are. It's a handicap system. And it's created by the best player that ever lived, arguably the best player that ever lived, Mike Siegel. I happen to be friends with his son, and they are giving me this opportunity to work with them, America's Billiard League. What's different about this league is, I should have Mike tell you, scoring, handicap system, how the playoffs work. Anyway, what's different about this league is there's another league. Like other leagues, they'll give you a ribbon, and they make these cool little patches. Like you run a table, like I got the run out table patch. And the players will have them lined up on their cues and stuff, and they have a rating system. But their rating system can be manipulated. I know this is a long commercial, but these guys and you guys can get involved in this. If you want to know how, email me, JohnFilax@gmail, if you want to know how to get involved in this and actually make some money with it. What makes this league different is other leagues give you trophies and patches and ribbons, and their grand finale is they take the winning teams down to somewhere like in Nevada. This league has 3 sessions, and each session pays out $25,000 to the winning team. That's the grand finale for some other leagues. This league pays $25,000 every 4 months. Whoever the best team is, 25 grand. Okay, that's 3 times a year, and then at the end of the year they do a big finale. And guaranteed First place for the winning team is $100,000. I've never played league in my life. I always played for money. You had your league players and your money players. I was on the other side. Some people play both, but I don't like playing on small tables. Regardless, for this kind of money, I'll join a team. So that's where we're at. America's Billiard League. If you play pool and you want an opportunity to make money playing pool, not only by playing, but also organizing teams and stuff, JohnFilax@gmail.com. All right, so there's that. Now let's go to this, because I also have a foundation called TAC. Let's show this tab and let's play this little thing that Eyes on the State made.
Are you tired of government overreach and eroded freedoms? At tac-us.org, we're fighting back. We're the Transparency Accountability Coalition, a non-profit defending your constitutional rights. No partisanship, just principle. From protecting free speech to demanding transparency, we're here for you. Visit tac-us.org to learn more and join the movement. tac-us.org, because your rights deserve a voice. Act now.
Okay, so there's that, and we'll get back to that video there. And let's do this. I know some of you just got here. I don't know if you went to the end. If you went to the end. So Rami's in here. So Rami and Joe Black, they won the competition. I did an intro/logo competition. This logo you see right here was made by Rami. Thank you, Rami. The video that goes along with it is a combination of Joe Black and me. I did my own little edits. Tell me what you think about the part where it says, yeah, I got this bill on my phone bill today for the Iraq war. Tell me what you think of that. Should I leave it in? I'll play it one more time. It's only a minute 42 seconds.
Thank you for holding. How can I be of service to you today?
Yes, I have this recurring charge on my monthly statement, and I can't figure out what it's for.
Well, we'll certainly do our best to help you. What does the charge say in your statement?
Well, it's a $275 charge, and it just says Iraq War.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. The Iraq War cost the average American family over $16,000.
Are you kidding? Well, I never signed up for that.
Sorry, man, you don't sign up.
Because law enforcement takes human suffering and turn it into cash.
JohnFilax, uncompromising truth, peaceful resistance every week.
Because first of all, you rarely recover anything. You rarely prevent anything. No, it is true. I'm a police accountability activist for about 20 years now. How many bad cops have you arrested?
You're listening to Resisting Without Violence with JohnFilax, uncompromising truth, peaceful resistance every week.
Come on, that's pretty good, man. Good job, guys. You win. All right. Where are we going from here? All right. So, political podcast, right? I'm going to give my opinions. Some of you are going to hate me. Some of you are going to love me. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Also, October 18th this year, Audit Palooza 2025. If you missed the last one, 2024, you missed out, man. It was fun. Lots of auditors, lots of fans, lots of food, cute bartenders, live music, comedy show. The comedian was so raunchy, you couldn't put that on any platform. They'd probably arrest you. I'm going to tell them to tone it down maybe this, like, little bit this year. It's worth $100. We're not going to run all day like we did last time because people started leaving at night. We'll probably start around 2 p.m. 2 p.m. to midnight. $100 ticket. Audit Palooza 2025 at gmail.com. Solo Yackers running point this year. I'll probably be calling you guys. You can also email me too about Audit Palooza if you want. Again, if you want me to read your comment, plug your channel, plug your business, as long as it's not raunchy, bigoted, or violent, Cash App, $JohnFilax, I will read your message. All right, let's get this political part going. So I don't commit myself to either party, okay? The two-party system's straight trash. To me, center is the Constitution, center, okay? I think I try to be as close to center as possible. So to me, left of the Constitution are the liberals or lefties or whatever you want to call them, and they're way left. Okay, left, or if you want your left, but that's my left. So to me, the Republicans are here to the left, and the Democrats are there to the left. They're just the more extreme version. So you got leftist Republicans. Remember, center over here. Republicans, Democrats. Oh, crap. So what am I saying by that? I'm saying both of them, there's always war, no matter which party's in. There's always a IRS. There's always insane cops. There's always a foreign country running our country. Can you guess who that is? I'll have Donald Trump tell you in a minute. I think we need to vote third party. And I'm not saying third party, like, for instance, Israel-Palestine conflict for me has been a big deal. I've been studying it since early 2000s, I think 2004. I watched a documentary called Peace Propaganda and the Promised Land. That was in 2004. And everything they say in that documentary has been going on, not only since 04, but since before the 40s. It started in the 40s. All right, I'm not going to go through the history right now. So my point is, Republicans have some good points here and there. Democrats have some good points here and there. Instead of picking one of those, there's no reason to pick one of those. Not only that, those aren't the only two parties. Okay? When I turned 18, Ross Perot was running for president. Ross Perot was a third party. At the time, the Women League of Voters ran the debates. So a third party can get in. So what happened? Ross Perot got in. It was Perot, I want to say Bush 41, and I forget who the third one was. But Ross Perot got 20% of the vote. 1 in every 5 people in this country voted for him. You know what that means? That means third party can actually be elected. So forget this BS about if you vote third party, you're just wasting your vote. No, wrong. That is wrong. If you vote for these two parties, you're wasting your vote, like you have been for decades, year after year after year. Things get worse and worse and worse. It's about time a third, fourth, fifth, sixth party, because there's no reason they get to monopolize the system. Like I said, no matter which of the two parties is in, you still got insane cops. You still got endless wars. You still got the military-industrial complex. You still got the IRS. You still need paid permission to do anything, to dig a hole, to cut down a tree, to build a shed, there's walking laws. There's walking laws. No matter which party's in, there's walking laws. In Florida, I believe there's like 88 walking laws. Walking. Are you with me here? So third party. Let's start with that, okay? So, what else did I want to say? Thanks for listening to that rant. I mainly focused on police stuff on my other channel because, like, right now, there's probably people already saying, F this guy. I used to like this guy. But whatever. So you take the best from each party. You take the best ideas. There's no reason to pigeonhole yourself into one of the two parties or the two parties at all, because then it's like, well, you guys did this and you guys did that and then you guys did this. Yeah, that's what they want. So vote. My thing would be, stop voting for people who keep funding the military-industrial complex. Stop voting for people who support Israel for ethno-religious reasons. There's no reason that we need to prop up that country to go to war with every other country in the Middle East. There's no reason. They're entangled in like 4 wars right now, and they're the size of New Jersey. I have a lot of clips I want to play. So the politics of the auditing movement. And Mr. Carnivore, you coming in, man? What up, Jesse, dude? I hope you're doing good. Carnivore Mike, you coming in? Where was I? Auditing. Politics of the auditing movement. In my mind, I was naive. I thought that we were all First Amendment auditors. We all believed in the Constitution. Well, it turns out there's people on the left and right of that fake paradigm in the auditing movement also. I think we should be strictly Constitution. And this coalition, that's one of the planks That's one of the planks of the TAC Constitution, the platform, is that we don't affiliate ourselves with any specific party. What else? Carnivore Mike, come on in, man. So the politics of the auditing movement is all over the place. So violence. Let's talk about violence. Violence is and should always be the last resort. The reason I call this channel Resisting Without Violence is because I was arrested for resisting without violence for shining a flashlight at a cop. Doing exactly what they do to you, blind you, ruin your videos, break the law against you. As soon as you do it to them, you're resisting without violence. I should write a song about that. So violence should be the last resort. And in just regular life, if you look around and you talk to people and you talk to dudes and you do whatever, and that one guy that's always wants to be violent, did I not email you the link, bro? That one guy that always wants to be violent. Okay, I'll do it right now. One guy that always wants to be violent is because he doesn't have the ability to communicate. So they resort to violence. And just like when you talk to cops and politicians and council members, it just, no matter what you say, it doesn't get absorbed. Let me invite Carnivore Mike here. So he must have emailed me. Now I want to email him. Ooh, somebody cash at me. All right, cool. So, life under the microscope. Give me 1 second, brother. Maybe I could play you something in the meantime. Also, here's Trump actually saying that the Congress should be run by Israel. I hope it doesn't play the ad again. It's probably going to. Okay, here we go. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me, man. Oh, it's not showing you guys anyway.
Act now.
All right, here we go. So, Carnivore Mike, let's see if I can get him on. And OG, I don't know what you're doing, OG. Hey, man, it's me. Let's see. What's your email address here? Oh, that's an easy one. Not. All right, watch out.
Well, you know, the biggest change I've seen in Congress is Israel literally owned Congress. You understand that 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it was so powerful. It was so powerful. And today it's almost the opposite. You have between AOC and Omar and these people that hate Israel. They hate it with a passion. They're controlling Congress, and Israel is not a force in Congress anymore. It's just amazing. I've never seen such a change. And we're not talking about over a very long period of time. But I think you know exactly what I'm saying. They had such power. Israel had such power, and rightfully, over Congress, and now it doesn't. It's incredible.
And rightfully over Congress.
Actually.
Are you?
So, wow, dude. Like they don't have, like Israel doesn't control Congress anymore, and Trump's super upset about that. That doesn't strike anybody odd. All right. I think I sent it to you, Mike. Okay, so there's Trump talking about. Oh, let me get back to my notes. Remember, I'm one-man operation here. Somebody sent me money too, so let me talk. Let me. First of all, thank you. Let's see if I can find you. So there we go. There we go. Let's see here. You guys, hopefully you said something. Oh, it's two of them. Boy, oh boy, John, you're prepared here. Never asked for money before, so this is weird to me. And I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the support. $ JohnFilax. Balance. Notes. Charlie. This month. Today. All right, someone's here. So. All right, Charlie Cruz. Thank you so much. He sent $5 on Cash App, $ JohnFilax. He says, good luck with the new approach with the yeah. Oh yeah, you like that white, super white, untanned, doesn't match my face. Yeah, you like that. You like it. Thank you, Charlie, man. All right. We got someone else? Oh, that's it. Okay, cool. $sign JohnFilax if you want to support me. So I'm gonna bring in a guest. His name is, I'm gonna call you Carnivore Mike, but his YouTube channel is called Life Under the Microscope. I don't even think I've ever seen what he looks like, but this guy, let me tell you, my whole life I've had a problem losing weight. My whole life. Like, I have such an eating disorder that I couldn't drive by a fast food without already thinking ahead of time what I'm going to eat. And I started to really feel like crap the last couple years. And this gentleman I'm about to bring up was telling me about the carnivore diet. And I never really gave it any thought. And I didn't realize how dieting is so controversial, but it is. But anyway, no doctor, no anybody else in my life ever told me something so simple, told me to do it. And by the eighth day, this is just me. I'm not a doctor, obviously. By the 8th day, I was off all my diabetes medications. And so I started the diet April 1st. By the April 9th, no more meds. Done. And my blood sugar has been perfect. I'm going to bring you up in a minute, man. I want to give you a proper introduction. So I went from 247 pounds. I weighed myself this morning. I'm 223 pounds. And I'm cheating here and there. Not much. We have one cheat date. My wife's on it too. I'm not going to tell you what she lost 17 pounds. Okay. So this is what he told me to do. And this is what I did. This is what he told me to do. And this is what I did. He said, eat beef, bacon, eggs, butter, salt. I eat pork and water. And what I would tell you is do that for 10 days. And you will not believe what it does to you. Here comes Carnivore Mike with more on the carnivore diet. Yo.
Oh, hey, you guys.
Hey.
Hey, now.
Hey.
Doing
What's up, my man?
not a whole lot, you know. Enjoying
Never
the show.
seen you before.
I know we tried this another time and the video didn't pop up, but this one is a little dark. So,
Okay.
but whatever. All right, ready to jump in?
Yeah,
baby.
So you kept being persistent with the carnivore diet. Tell me why you were so persistent, and yeah, let's go from there. How do you even know about it? Why do you know about it? What? Tell me. Go.
Almost died. Lost the joint in my finger here. Had essentially like a cat scratch fever. Got that at work, and I started to, basically almost lose my life. I was in the hospital 15 days on, another 16, 17, 18 days on later on down the road when they removed the joint and put a fake joint in there. So I started to dissect life because I was out of work for a while. And
Stop.
Sure.
You broke your finger?
I got an infection in my finger at work. So
And that almost led to you dying.
I'm sorry?
And that almost led to you passing away.
Like pastoral multicida. It's like cat scratch fever, basically. So I was delivered
literally your life was in danger.
Yes.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. At the time, my son had almost passed away. He was born, and it was almost like a stillborn kind of thing. So my wife at the time had been in labor, and she told the doctors and the nurses, and they're like, "Oh, no, it's okay. We would know if you're in labor." Well, long story short, she was in labor the whole time. Pushed out the baby in the morning, and he's not breathing. I got to keep her attention so they could resuscitate him. And I'm just like, wow, the medical community is failing me right and left. So I started to dissect life. I put life under the microscope, and it just became a new personification of why I deserve to be here, because I always like helping people. Bigger guy, always like to help anybody. You're moving stuff. I'm your number one. Information. I always had the Times and popular science, all this garbage, knowledge, waste. So I started to go back through it, and it started with water. Started to look into some of the great minds of water, and really dissect, why, it's the very first cause. How did we get here? And I don't want to go all, totally off on a rant.
Okay, hold on. So you started with water.
Yeah.
drink
So
a
I
lot of
started-
water, and you
started
kept
water.
examining life under the microscope.
Yep.
And what
Exactly.
led you to the carnivore diet?
So I found a couple doctors that started speaking a little more my language, and scientists that were basically calling out the medical community and the scientific community. Everything that just wasn't adding up, it's kind of brushed under the rug, and it's just passed through to us in our textbooks. And the textbooks, I started noticing they were ever changing. I have a whole collection, and everything's highlighted. You can see where they start to change things, and like, why is that? I know we learn new knowledge, but it's often that we will give descriptions in our medical science instead of an explanation. That's why you buy any of the top physicists' work today, and they give you 400 plus pages of a bunch of nonsense, and then right in the end they go, oh yeah, it's all hypothetical, we don't really know, because they just have descriptions to go by. And that's not fair to us, the people that are paying for this stuff, supporting it with our lives. We support this stuff with our lives. And you got, again, like you said, Israel, right? Palestine. They got a whole community of people.
Carnivore diet.
They got a whole community of people there that are pushing an agenda. And it's not just political. It's also goes into the realm of the civilization, the whole culture of people. So we got peasant foods today.
Tell me what that is.
Before. Yep.
What's peasant food?
Let them eat cake. Let them eat cake. Marie Antoinette.
So what? That means let them eat that crap.
Let them eat.
And we'll eat all the meats and cheeses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because who ate the best? The king, for a reason. So we've got these the grasses of the earth, the seeding, the fruit bearers, the low-hanging fruit, I like to call them, peasant food. And this is what's readily available. It'll constantly regrow itself and recycle. Easy to keep up and easy to do major cash crops with, where it takes more of a toll for meats, for beef production. And we are the ones paying the bigger price.
So did you tell me a story about your grandmother? She accidentally just did the carnivore, right?
Yeah, she got really depressed after my grandfather passed away. And this was a big thing too. I just started learning this, and I had a cousin who was at Yale, like a program where they were studying carnivore eating. It was more ketogenic eating, which is this similar kind of thing. It just allows.
So when you say ketogenic, you mean eat foods that have barely any sugar, keep your sugar as low as possible, keep your carbohydrate.
Still low carb. It's basically low carb diet, but you could still ingest some carbohydrates, which again, hey, that's what worked for Atkins. That's why that was still the number one most successful diet to date. But it's not.
You know how Atkins died?
I'm sorry?
Do you know how Dr. Atkins died?
I hope he choked on some nuts.
He slid and fell on ice and died. And just imagine all the pizza he could have ate if he knew that. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, all right. I was trying to tell my grandfather while he was in hospice, and I'm watching as they're giving him those like Ensure drinks, those totally sugar, carbohydrate,
milk,
disgusting, and cakes and cookies. And anyway, my grandmother was real depressed for a while. She became a bit of a recluse. Beef, butter, bacon, eggs, literally legit. That's it.
Why did she do that?
It's just something easy to come by, man. We grew up the second pizza restaurant, coal-fire pizza restaurant in the United States, and having restaurants and everything.
What made her only eat those foods?
I guess just the quickness and the fact that she was only going to maybe eat one meal a day. I couldn't tell you. I mean,
so she just accidentally started doing carnivore without really knowing it.
Yeah.
Okay, then what happened?
She wound up losing her type 2 diabetes that she's had for over, it's over 30 something years, probably 34 years, where she had to always check her insulin. Insulin levels were always high.
Did she realize why?
You could see the spike of her diabetes all the time. She's always testing, always handing people the tester. Hey, test your blood.
Did she realize why her sugar went down?
Well, after the fact, I told her this. It was more of a shock to her when her doctor told her that she didn't have diabetes anymore, or she remissed.
And what do the doctors have to say? That's what interests me.
What are the doctors going to say? They're not going to seminars. They're not.
What are they saying? What are they saying? They don't want to go. To me, they would say, "Oh my God, you've been my patient for 20 years and you cured it on your own. How did you do it?"
Yeah, let's have everybody try this, right?
Yeah.
Hang on, I got to sell my stock. Hang on, I'll be right back.
Wow. And then can I tell them about the story you told me about yourself and how you cured that?
Absolutely.
So you had Lyme disease, right?
Sir.
Which is you got bit by a tick in the woods or something?
Yep.
That happened to me. I don't know if I was bit, but there was one stuck to me. My wife and I had to like strip each other naked and flashlight each other up. I've seen crevices of her I haven't seen in decades. And we plucked them out, but nothing happened because, there's no inflammation, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if that's the same thing or not. So you got Lyme disease from a tick. Then what? You started doing carnivore, right?
Yeah, I got my blood test, and once they confirmed it, and I had such a joint pain in my arm, it was just my elbow. It was like a nightmare. It felt like maybe I had tried to deadlift like 300 pounds or 400 pounds on like one arm or something. It just wasn't working. Like maybe cranked it like a clean and jerk and just snapped or something. It just was a nightmare. So I said, there's no way I could continue to work like this. There's no way I could continue to live like this. No one should have to deal with this kind of pain and pressure. And that's just in one part of my arm. So to expand, like thinking about other people and their pains, when you hear when they start moving around, their joint pains, I'm thinking, okay, let me check out what causes this inflammation. And so there's a doctor I had been following for a while, Dr. Darren Schmidt. He's out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I had basically fallen upon his work through my own research. Again, keeping life under the microscope. So I discovered this guy's work. He was digging through old books like myself through archive.org, and he started to discover this little pesky thing that was hanging around for a while, the last couple hundred years, lactic acidosis. And lactic acidosis is a form of this oxidization of the blood from when we're eating. We basically eat these carbohydrates, and we have like an insulin rise. Your insulin level starts to rise up. So what happens is your liver starts to communicate with the rest of your body, and it says, no, this ain't right. I got to do something. I got to protect myself. So it secretes this little secretion of lactic acidosis. And you could search this up on like ChatGPT, on Grok. It'll tell you for the most part, because these are very protected forms of AI, let's say, or information. What they'll do is they'll tell you it's at a small level. It's okay. It's just a small level. Like it's a little bit of arsenic. It's okay. You're only eating a couple seeds. You're not eating the whole thing. No, this is like a drop in a pond with a ripple effect, whereas it's more like a drop in a little fish tank where you put a little bit of red dye, and everything starts to change. Little hue. So our whole body starts to get poisoned. We basically poison ourselves, and it's not fair. Nobody should have to watch their kids grow up and start to take on these debilitating diseases, not thrive to the most optimal level that we could be. And that's where it hits me in my heart.
All right, dude. So you've done more for me than any doctor ever. I feel amazing. I look good. My clothes fit me again. I'm still losing.
We've got a mutual friend, remember? Swamp Fox, our buddy Tim. And
Swamp Fox, yes.
He inspired me to reach out to you.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Listen, a lot of us keep our struggles inside, right? It's tough, but you were nice enough to bring yourself out there and put yourself in front of the camera like everybody else, put your life under the microscope, which is a great thing because you're an inspiration to me and to everybody here. Are you kidding me? Dude, no, thank you. Like we talk a little bit here and there, but you thank you. No, thank you. And I mean it.
Yes, sir.
Out of my heart. And again, Swamp Fox, he was sick. He's open about this. Guy was literally.
He had a deadline.
Exactly. That's why I step my ass in when I see people in his chat yelling, "Oh, try broccoli," like just the broccoli diet. Like, wait a minute. You even know what oxalates are? This is going to be a big problem for you, man. This is literally going to exacerbate that, and you're going to pass before the deadline. So I reached out to Tim right away. I started saying stuff to him that registered. He understood he only had one shot at this to keep it going. He proved us.
And he did it
right now.
And he has some stomach lining cancer, and that is no joke.
Right.
All right, finishing up. Right now, here's what I would say to anybody. Beef, bacon, pork, chicken, butter, salt, eggs, and water. Do that for 10 days. Your whole chemical imbalance, your whole balance, your whole thing changes. You're not hungry anymore. You start eating less and less. You don't care about food. You're not thinking about it every second. This is me personally. Do it for 10 days. If it doesn't do anything, tell me to go F myself, like many have. Bro, I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Absolutely.
Do it again, all right?
Every time. Buddy.
All right, Life Under the Microscope. Subscribe to Life Under the Microscope. Try the carnivore diet for 10 days. See you, man. Thank you.
Peace.
Bye. All right, everybody. There you go. Life Under the Microscope with the carnivore diet. All right. Moving right along. Again, $ JohnFilax. I will be asking for financial support on this podcast. Can't do it without money. That's how it is. Let's see. Violence is the last resort. Violence should always be the last resort. Only stupid people and power-hungry people want to use violence against you because they can't talk it out, because they're emotional. They can't handle it. So if you're violent and you resort to violence quickly, it's because you're lacking up here. Give me some people you guys like listening to, and I'll give you my opinions about them. I'm going to start with my own here. Let's see here. You guys know who Destiny is? Destiny's a Twitch streamer who became a political commentator, and he's like what you call the Democratic left, not the Republican left. And he's horrible, man. He thinks he's so smart. He's horrible. He's a really smart dude. He talks really fast, but when he's wrong about something, he will never admit he's wrong about something. Just recently, he took a trip to Israel, and his advice to the troops there were, while you're committing these heinous war crimes, just don't videotape yourself. That's what he get. That was the advice that he gave them. Who you guys got? Guys, give me some people that you listen to if you wouldn't mind. OG, if you want to come on, let me know. Who else? Bad Empanada, somebody I like. Candace Owens, there's a controversial figure. A lot of people hate Candace Owens for some reason. I think she's great on a lot of stuff. She covered the USS Liberty when Israel attacked our ship. The Israel crazy Zionist supremacists say it was an accident. Many people have come forward that were on the ship that day, and it was no accident. And it was in international waters. It was a war crime. Again, that certain country over there can commit war crimes, and we still give them $4 billion a year out of your paycheck. Your paycheck. For a foreign country. And you heard, I just played you Trump, where he said Israel used to run Congress. Rightfully so. They put him in 2016. Everyone was Russia. No. And let me tell you, there's another thing called the American Israel Political Affairs Committee. It's called AIPAC. And one thing that's really hard to find in our Congress is someone who doesn't directly, full-heartedly bend the knee to Israel and force your tax dollars over there so we can constantly be at war in the Middle East. They send them your tax dollars, then Israel takes those tax dollars and buys weapons from American military industrial complex, and it's a nice revolving door. See how that works? Your tax money, because the government can't just take your tax money, hand it directly to the private company, and then have them ship it. They got to play the game. And I'm sure when some of that money goes over there, they keep some of it, send it back to AIPAC. Again, this is just my political opinion. And then AIPAC, if you don't bend the knee to Israel as a politician, they will fund your opposition with a pro-Israel candidate to the tune of millions of dollars. Something has turned with that dynamic, though, because nowadays, thank goodness, people have phones, even in Gaza, and they're live streaming the atrocities that go on over there. Again, violence is the last resort, unless you're a land-stealing, colonizing, disgusting terrorist state like the one over there that we support full-heartedly. Ben Shapiro, again, Pretends like he's America first, but he's not. Destiny sucks. Bad Empanada's good. Candace Owens is great, except. All right, somebody's here. Okay, cool. Candace Owens is great about everything except she's a radical police supporter. She says it herself. It's disgusting. It's such a shame because she's so damn smart, and I can't fathom that no one's ever told her, hey, your stance on police is way off. Because if you believe this, this, and this, and this about everything else, and you're so damn right about everything else, what is it about that? Okay, so Jimmy Dore is another one I like. Him and Kurt Metzger were considered leftists. I didn't even know they were leftists. I always thought leftists were people like Destiny with the purple hair and the blue this, the blue that, and they don't know which gender they are. But I guess there's a left that actually has some sanity, like Jimmy Dore, Kurt Metzger. And then you got Dave Smith. Dave Smith is a comedian. And another thing you'll notice, some of the best political commentators nowadays were comedians, because comedy is not easy to do. You got to have a certain amount of intelligence to do it. Nancy Pelosi's hot, huh? She does have some big nanners. I'll give you that. Jimmy Dore, good. Kurt Metzger, good. Dave Smith, libertarian. Again, libertarian. You shouldn't use that term because people like Bill Maher consider themselves libertarian. No. Constitution. It's not perfect, but you stick to the Constitution and you're always going to be way better than the politicians we have nowadays. My favorite politician, and probably the only, well, two, I like Rand Paul. Again, he's not Ron Paul, his father, who's my damn idol. He's Rand Paul. He's okay. And then Thomas Massey. These are constitutional candidates. I also interviewed on one of my channels Anthony Sabatini, who was like more of a constitutionalist. But these guys don't go far. And if you don't bend the knee to that foreign country, you're not really going anywhere. Matt Gaetz was supposed to be the attorney general, but over there where he lives, he hooked up with some rich Zionist who happened to run the DMV over there and was making fake IDs. And he ran a little honeypot scandal where he'd make IDs for underage girls. And somehow, some way, he introduced one of them to Mr. Gaetz. So now Gaetz is going to become attorney general. He doesn't bend the knee. Next thing you know, he's embroiled in this scandal. And they put in Pam Bondi, who is a Zionist supremacist. Okay? They just said they're not going to release the Epstein. Well, so you got her. You got Kash Patel. And then you got Bongino. Bongino, I wish I had the video ready to go. He literally said when he was asked, what's the most important thing for you? He's like, defense of Israel. Defense of Israel is the most important thing for Dan Bongino. Defense of Israel, not America. We're seeing a pattern here. Who else we got? Tucker Carlson, he's okay. He did great at exposing Ted Cruz. He had Ted Cruz on the in the box the other day interviewing him. And Ted Cruz literally said he wakes up every day to serve for Israel because his Bible, and then he had the nerve to say he doesn't understand why everyone's obsessed with Israel. Meanwhile, he just said 30 seconds before that, he wakes up every day to go to work to defend Israel. Let me bring in OG here. OG Patriot, what up?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Tired, was sleeping. I just got up a few minutes ago.
All right. What you got for me? Anything? How do you think? What do you think so far?
About what?
Anything you've heard? How you like the show so far? How you like the intro?
Oh, I just got here like literally 10 minutes ago. I saw your email and
okay. All right, so I'll bring you back up in a few.
All right.
So where was I? Jimmy Dore, Kurt Metzger, Douglas Murray. I never even heard of him until October 7th. And you know what? They were about to literally just stampede and annex Gaza and the West Bank if it wasn't for October 7th. And everything that happened that day sucks. Both sides suck. Again, violence is the last resort. And these people don't want to leave. And Trump said he would ethnically cleanse them out of there. I can go on and on and on about that. So let me see what else I got here. These are my opinions. If you don't have to agree with me, but there's no reason to get mad. You can disagree with me. Go ahead. Stay objective, though. Facts are facts, and that's all there is to it. Let's see here. I got a video I wanted to play. No. There we go. I said 43 minutes. I wonder what she says here at 43 minutes. Can you guys hear that? Probably not, right? Just want to make sure I get to the right spot. All right, let's see what we got here. See what she's talking about.
Which I called. But anyways, I want to remind you guys about Nimi Skincare because, as many of you know.
Oh, there you go. Play a commercial, dummy. 10% off. Candace O.
Right, what are you guys saying in the chats? We are down a producer today. And so you guys are working overtime in the control room. Chris is. Williams Swamp writes, Russia is face forward and open about being a Christian nation. What are they reading that's different from Ted Cruz? They don't claim that they have to defend Israel. Where does the confusion from America come from towards Israel?
Okay, so I think I know what you're going to say, the Scofield Bible.
Yeah, it comes from what you just saw, which is Zionist money. And like I said, there should be an entire Prager.
So mind you, she worked for a Zionist network, Ben Shapiro's thing called the Daily Wire. They're 1000% Israel first, and she had the nerve to say what was going on in Gaza is bad. So they fired her, and they said one of the worst things she ever did was tweet out that Christ is king.
PragerU video, which they would not do that because they are PragerU and they are Zionists, but that slowly explains to you the heresy of the Scofield Bible and how they sort of realized, Zionists ahead of them wanting to create the state of Israel, that in order to marry America, this rather young country compared to the rest of the world, to their values, it would take essentially this operation. You have to teach good Christians how to read their Bible, and ironically kind of offer this indulgence. Like, don't you see right here, it says that you'll be blessed if you kind of worship Israel, and to make them believe that it was a part of prophecy.
So again, what she's talking about is the Scofield edition of the Bible, which is a guy named Scofield made his own Scofield reference Bible, and under each verse, not under each one, but there was a lot of citations. He put in a little footnote. Well, this means this. This means this. This means this. And it was passed through the South and everybody who claims to be a Christian Zionist. So you got Christian Zionists, you got Catholics, you got Baptists. So Christian Zionists are dispensationalists who believe the end times are coming because they've been reading the Scofield Bible, and they think it's going to happen over there in Jerusalem, and God's going to come down and he's going to take the chosen people, and this is where all that stuff comes from. And there's more Christian Zionists in the world than there are actually Jewish people. So Zionism and Judaism are not the same thing. As a matter of fact, them religions kind of conflict with each other. So again, all these people who praise, like for instance, Mike Huckabee, he literally said there's no such thing as Palestine. Let's listen to some more.
And, Dr. Taylor Marshall does a good job of breaking this down of why that's not true, but also just the historical elements of who was behind the Scofield Bible, the Lotus Club in New York, funding that into existence, and it becoming sort of the first notation Bible where the notations were directly under the scripture. So they're telling you, here's a scripture, but here's how you should interpret the scripture. And Oxford Press picks this up and prints tons of copies, so it becomes the most well-read Bible. And then they tell the story of like, oh, it was just like a good old pastor that one day decided to put in these notations, and it's completely fraudulent. So that's where it comes from. Russia's Orthodox, and so the Orthodox and the Catholics who.
See, my parents are Orthodox, and I didn't know. They never said this stuff at my church, and we're Christian, so it's not a Christian thing. It's literally Christian Zionists who grew up with the Scofield Bible, who believe about the end times, and that Jews are God's chosen people, and that Zionism and Judaism are the same thing, and they conflate the two. All right, let's see here. What do you guys think so far? Again, $ JohnFilax on Cash App. Throw me $5, man. Be cool. Be cool like that. All right, let's go to this one. I think there was another part in here I wanted to cover. Candace, 15 minutes in. Let's see. Let's see what that's all about.
On Israel, she writes, sorry, Candace Owen, your narrative is not playing out. Okay, you have no idea who I am. Someone has sent you.
All right, forget that one. Let's go to the next one. Close that out. This is Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan, biggest grifter in the world. Horrible, horrible, horrible. 45, 47, 45, 47. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay. Let's share that. Share the screen. What screen? This one? No. Yep. There we go. Share. It's Piers Morgan. And I forgot what was even said here, but I marked it for a reason. So let's go.
A lot of the members of that government, it's clear, right? It's ethnic cleansing. It's get all the Palestinians out of Gaza and for the Israelis to take over. And that is ethnic cleansing. I'm going to take a short break again. I'll come back to the panel for a response to this interview with David Frum, writer at The Atlantic and former...
Okay, this scumbag, another Zionist who got us into the Iraq war, wrote like the memos and stuff.
Speechwriter for George W. Bush. David, great to have you.
Yeah, he was George Bush's speechwriter when they went to war in Iraq and spent $1 trillion of your money and killed over 1 million people over there. So that's this guy. This is who gets TV time.
On Uncensored. I think your debut on Uncensored, in fact.
I think so.
Well, welcome to you. I think I interviewed you many times at CNN many years ago.
Yeah.
But great to have you.
That's right.
Great to have you here.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to start with a contentious statement. As I sit here, Donald Trump has managed to end this war, it appears, in 12 days with Iran.
Nonsense. They put a pause to it. Again, Trump had no authority to go bomb them. They're not a threat to us. The big lie is that they're a threat to Israel. So they keep saying they're not allowed to have nuclear weapons. Okay. Obama, one good thing he did was sign a nuclear proliferation treaty. And they agreed to it. And they let the weapons inspectors come in. And they were only making enriching uranium for nuclear power, which they have the right to do. And I think you have to enrich up to 20% for medical reasons. So Trump ditched that plan, and then they brought it up to 60% to make it a latent deterrent. So everyone they told to give up their nuclear weapons over there in the Middle East, Ukraine, I know that's not the Middle East, Libya, when they gave up their weapons, all hell broke loose. Libya, they went in there, overthrew Gaddafi, and a gang of dudes actually sodomized them in the street. So the message is over there, North Korea has nukes. Why are they allowed to have nukes? And why does it? Also, Israel has nuclear weapons, which they will not admit because they got them through espionage from here in the United States. Also, they're not part of any proliferation treaty. They will not let weapons inspectors in or acknowledge the fact that they have nuclear weapons, but they get to decide who gets to have them around their area. But I digress.
And Israel. He's also got the NATO countries to pledge to 5% of their GDP spending on defense, which is a massive win for him. By contrast to Barack Obama, who got the Nobel Peace Prize after less than 8 months, because he said some nice things about the Muslim world and the West coming together. Why should Donald Trump not now get the Nobel Peace Prize?
Really? I don't know. Because he illegally started a war in Iran?
There are two truths we have to keep in mind, and they're kind of opposite, but the test of our acuity, or maybe even of our democratic survival, is holding both of these things in our minds. The first is that the action that the president took to strike the Iranian nuclear program at a moment when, thanks to Israeli ingenuity and daring, it could be done, which has not been the case before. That was a necessary and correct act, and I salute him for it. At the same time, while we hope that this war is over, it may not be. While we hope the program is over, it may not be. And Donald Trump now becomes a more dangerous threat to American democracy because he still does not respect the due process rights of citizens, the free speech rights, democratic elections, and basic rules about honest government and conflict of interest and not taking massive handouts from persons all over the world undisclosed to the United States people.
I mean, you made a lot of claims there. He would, if he was sitting here listening to this, he would counter quite hard on that. He would say that he pushes the envelope hard on things like, for example, the deportation program, but that he does abide by what courts say. If eventually...
Nonsense. Trump was snatching people up for even having an opposing opinion to Israel. He did it to Mahmoud Khalid over there, who was anti-Israel, hurting lots of people for no reason. There's a name for it. And he went and had him snatched off the street. Another student, and he was married to a woman, his wife was pregnant, and he snatched him up off the street up there, I think in Columbia, and took him down to a Louisiana prison where one of his appointed judges has jurisdiction. That's not legal. That's not a legal action. And he's also snatching people up and sending them to El Salvador without due process. So I don't believe in illegal immigration, but if you're going to let all these people in, millions of people, and then the next administration gets to go, all right, now we're going to have guys with masks go around and snatch everybody up. No. Again, violence is the last resort, not the first thing. What you should do is, if there's violent criminals here, get them out immediately. Now, people who came over, like I worked in the restaurant business, they let them work there. They let them work. They let them do all these jobs that Americans don't want to do. So the solution is you give them some type of path to citizenship. People that have been here so many years that aren't hurting anybody, that are just working. Yeah, they came in illegally, but at the same time, you let them in. You had an open door policy. Now you want to get guys with guns snatching them up at their jobs? Come on now. You give them a path to citizenship. The violent ones, you get out of here. That's fine. Give them due process. Get them out. The ones that aren't violent, that are just living and paying their bills and getting by the best they can, give them a path to citizenship, either some citizenship test or something.
Essentially, all appeals against the courts are against him. He has said he will abide by what they say. He's also said in relation to the stolen election, which I said to his face wasn't stolen and so on. The reality is he did leave the White House and he wasn't there for 4 years. In other words, Trump will say a lot of quite inflammatory things, but the reality is that the system in American democracy has actually worked pretty well with Trump. Why are you
That's garbage.
so scared about him and the potential threat to democracy?
His attempted coup failed in 2021. That's true because he made a mistake.
No, attempted coup garbage.
He thought you could overthrow an election with a disorganized mob. And that turned out not to be true. As you say, the American state.
Ephraim's full of crap right there. All right, that's enough of these clowns. That's enough of that. See how OG's doing. Yo.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. You?
Any opinions?
I mean, this is outside the realm of what I like to talk about in terms of just, I'm not political.
Okay.
I'm not a big, I don't support any of these people.
Good. What do you think about the third party idea?
It's okay. I mean, it should be a 12-party idea.
Yes.
Yes. But this, the thing is, I'm just so burnt out, and after living through that shit for years and years, I'm just so burnt out on the entire thought of government, and I mean, it's like I don't even know how to explain it. It's just I'm so over it that none of them are there to help any of us or anybody. Nope. They're all there to help themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no end to it. There's no way. I don't see a way out without, radical stuff. And I'm just not, I don't know how else to put it.
See if I can find another clip here. Let me put you backstage again. All right.
Sure.
All right. So what I want to do next. Let's go to my show notes. I have show notes. Inbox. Invitation. What is this? No reply. There we go. What do we got here? Israeli comedians. Israel short. Let's see what this is all about.
Americans will become anti-Israel. You will even see Americans hate Israel like you hate Iran. That's not my opinion. That is a neutrally observable fact. In 10 to 20 years, the American support for Israel will be zero. The only reason Israel continues to get support in America is because of boomers and people aged older than that. Once they have no more political influence and power, it's over. You have 10 to 20 years, max, before America totally pulls all its support from Israel. Certainly, you realize, without America's support, there is no Israel.
That's true. What would they do without us? All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's do some Israeli comedians. Let's see what they have to say.
I don't have the exact dates on it, and they're in my phone. So instead, what I will plug is my podcast.
Which one?
The
Bad Hasbro one?
The Bad Hasbro one that needs the most help. Yes. Yeah. The one that
everyone knows.
The one that will at some point be, canceled by Google or whatever. They'll
I'm looking for a timestamp. Hold on.
All these podcasts are going away after, the fucking the embassy thing. They're gonna do all that. We're all fucked. But while we can,
The media always try to pin me.
What the hell's going on? Close that. All right. Let's see. Can you guys? All right. You see that? Let's see. I had queued up at how many minutes here? Do dissidents. Now these two guys I love, man. These are two Jewish guys. They're wonderful. So 50 minutes, 37, 22, 29, 22. Let's go to 22. Make this big. Go to 22 minutes. Where are we at here?
Is if there was any.
No.
In a way, they're one happening that Zionist lobby can be defeated. Then this is it.
Right.
So this is so we are hearing from a lot of people who are supporting our campaign that they are super excited and energized by this primary victory of Mamdani because it shows that we can win. I mean, it shows because we are running an anti-genocide campaign.
Okay, so Zoran Mondami is running for he's running for mayor in New York City. Zoran Mondami is Muslim, but he's also socialist, which to me is straight garbage. But he's on debate stage. I wonder if I have that video. And the moderators are asking each candidate, where's the first place you're going to go? This is such a setup question. Where's the first place you're going to go if you become mayor of New York? And the first person is like Israel. The second politician says, I'm going to take my second trip to Israel. Third politician is like, I'm going to take my fourth trip to Israel, my third trip to Ukraine. Our two greatest allies. Then the guy, Zoran Mondami, said, I'm going to stay here in New York. I'm going to be the mayor of New York. And I'll talk to all the Jewish people here in New York. I'll go to the synagogues. I'll take care of my constituents who are Jewish. And then the moderator is like, whoa. Let me follow up on that. Do you think Israel has a right to exist? And he says, yeah, with equal opportunity for everybody. But as a Jewish state, he goes, as a state with equal opportunity, but as a Jewish state. In other words, what they're trying to say is you have to support the message that Israel gets to be an ethno-supremacist state. And their goal is always to have 80% Jewish people living in Israel proper. Gaza has 2 million. Well, it had 2.2 million people. Now, after the past 2 years, after Israel's mowed the lawn, that's what they call it when they go in there from time to time and just erase kids and women and men, and they call it mowing the lawn. I didn't make this up. So after 2 years of them mowing the lawn, there's only like 1.8, 1.9 million people there. The rest are like starved to death or etc. And if they let Gaza and the West Bank, which they militarily occupy right now, illegally under international law, not to mention Bibi Netanyahu is wanted by the International Criminal Court. There's a warrant out for his arrest. So he's not supposed to be able to travel to certain countries, or else they're supposed to arrest him because they're signatories on the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice. And he's wanted. But instead, he comes to New York. Netanyahu, who's a war criminal by any sense of the word, shows up to Congress, and our politicians are clapping like seals for 50 minutes straight, as if he's the president of the United States and not. He comes to visit Trump, and Trump pulls the chair out for him like he's his butler. You guys got to watch the BB files, too. Write this down. Make a note. The BB files. All right. So there's that. What else did I want to see on this? Again, $sign JohnFilax on Cash App. You want me to plug your business? You want me to read something off that's not too crazy? I'll do it. Let me find out where's the next timestamp here. So 50, 22, 29. Let's see what 29 is. 29. See what we got here.
To the good, but I think that's a big part of the story here. It's not really a story about a working class uprising. The working class, to a very depressing degree, voted for Cuomo.
Yes, I think that is a sobering question, and we do have to consider that very seriously, especially as
so Andrew Cuomo was such a disgusting pervert that there's like 12 women who filed charges against them, and he tried to sue them for their genetic material from their crotches. And during COVID, he let a bunch of senior citizens die in nursing homes. And then this guy has the nerve to run for mayor again, and people are mad that he didn't win. He's also Bibi Netanyahu's lawyer. As soon as he lost to Zoran Mondani, he went and he's fighting for Benjamin Netanyahu as one of his lawyers.
Mamdani goes to the general election. I mean, that's a very specific challenge he will need to overcome. What I mean is that there is an opening to win on these demands, and it is if you look at the opinion polls on issue after issue, the vast majority of the working class skews left. And even if you look at the question, the poll asks, do you support any attacks by Trump on Medicare and Medicaid? I mean, whopping over 90% of America is.
So Shama, why do you think they vote that way? Because I live in Harlem, and Harlem, as far as I know, they went for Cuomo.
Yes, I mean, actually, the numbers are pretty, as I said, pretty sobering. Actually, I think the New York Times analysis showed that Cuomo dominated in precincts where at least 70% of the residents are black, and in there, the difference, is.
So another reason it's crazy that he won is because first, he didn't bend the knee to Israel, say he's going over to Israel. Two, New York City is the second most populous city of Zionists and Jewish people outside of Tel Aviv. Okay, what other timestamp did I have here? 3751. 3751.
Out and votes for you, who comes out and campaigns for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the real divide there that you touched on. When they say you have to be more charming, I've always found you perfectly easy to talk to, much more so than a lot of the DSA aligned Jacobin writers who I used to interview when we first started the show. And that has everything to do with a class commonality. That's why I always found rank and file MAGA voters easier to talk to than a lot of upper class liberals, just because there's a class component there where I feel like I'm talking on their level. So yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And in terms of the income distribution, voting versus, Mamdani versus Cuomo, it's interesting because yes, Mamdani won with over 100,000 income. But if you look at where the huge money was, the huge money voters voted for Andrew Cuomo too. Cuomo.
Yeah, because he's buddy with them. Let's see, one more timestamp on the show. 50 minutes. These guys are good, man. They're called Due Dissidents. You need to check them out. Let's see what we got here.
Inequality, like, do you not want a person's message to get platformed, or even looking at the need of some of the Democrats to play nice with him? Well, 5 years ago, even, they wouldn't have played nice with him. Like, what does winning actually look like? The populist party in the 1890s was crushed after some early stunning successes. The parties got their act together and crushed them, but their platform wound up being partly the platform of Theodore Roosevelt, and largely the platform of FDR. What do you do? Like, not vote for Theodore Roosevelt, who's running on breaking up the corporations, which was your idea with your populist party? Like, I think you're seeing a lot of the conversation around, well, if anyone's for them, I'm against them.
Anyway, that's Due Dissidents. They're good. Zoran Mondani, they're going to put so much money towards Eric Williams, the incumbent. Also, they did a Democratic primary for some reason this year. And every mayor of New York has went to Israel as soon as they got elected and put on the little hat and kissed the wall, which is the western wall of Fort Antonia, but that's a whole nother conversation. All right, let me see who I got next. So there's Due Dissidents, Israel Short. Let's see who else we got. Larkin Rose, immigration. Myron Gaines. Anyone know who Myron Gaines is? He's a former cop, and he's always talking about Israel, and he makes racist jokes about black people. He speaks in code. He calls them boys. He calls them boys Zionists. Zionists, he calls them boys, because I guess saying them boys is code for that. And he's pretty spot on about everything he says about the history and how it all went down over there. But the thing is, he has a blue line flag behind him. He used to be police or something. He used to be part of the police force. And he never, ever, ever brings up the fact that the Israeli army, who's committing you-know-what right now, literally trains American police officers. And if you watch side-by-side footage of how they treat people versus how our cops treat people, it's right there. And Myron Gaines is so anti-Israel, which he should be, but at the same time, he supports the fat blue line. And again, those two contradict each other. Either you don't like the Zionists, that means you don't like the police that they train either, but you're conflicted there, and that's why you don't talk about that. All right, who we got next? Larkin Rose, DMCA lawyer, due dissidents. What else we got here? DMV recording. Here's the deal. Climate change. What else we got here? Israel bombing hospital. Trump goes after Thomas Massey. Let's look at this one. I wonder where I wanted to, if there's a timestamp. Trump says Israel should own Congress. I already showed you that. Huh. Let's see here. All right, let's play a little bit of this.
To happen. Not only is Trump venturing war with Iran and getting Israel, America, and allied nations involved with the potential of World War III, but it's also igniting a bit of a civil war tension within MAGA itself. So we already showed Laura Loomer, for example, a highly regarded influencer of the MAGA world, very much on pro-Trump side, exposing her true colors when she lashes out at Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens or anyone that stands in the way of being this kind of defiant voice for really, truly what the notion of MAGA really is, which is questioning our foreign policy, going after the deep state, calling out when things are wrong and focusing on issues back here at home. And considering majority of Americans don't want to proceed into another war situation, and that's what Trump campaigned on and promised on.
Yes, Trump said no more wars. And how many of you, if you want war, put a 1 in the chat. If you want war, if you think we should be at war all the time, I'll wait. And yeah,
on why people voted for him, it really exposed Laura Loomer for who she is. But here's a more high-profile situation, because now it's not just Tucker Carlson, it ain't just Candace Owens, it's not just Ian Carroll, but now Trump.
Oh, Ian Carroll, he's wonderful too. And again, all this 9/11 stuff and all this stuff they're talking about now, I've been talking about this since the early 2000s, but I was just a crazy conspiracy theorist. Now that all these conspiracy theories have come true, now it's cool. Candace, Ian Carroll, all them people he just named, Tucker, now they can talk about this stuff. It was taboo 20 years ago.
Is swearing vengeance on people like Thomas Massey here, one of the well-respected U.S. politicians, probably one of the most I can tolerate because of how principled this man is. There's very few people I could tolerate in this space, but Thomas Massey being one of them, very level-headed, very, moral core center person.
Thomas Massey's great. He's a constitutionalist. He doesn't bend the knee to Israel. He should be the next president. He refuses, like this big, beautiful bill. This big, beautiful bill. There was so much spending in that. Thomas Massey said, no, I'm not voting for that. Trump got so offended by that he's like, I'm going to primary Massey. Now he's trying to get Massey out of office because he doesn't bend the knee. And Trump is a Israel first president, just like the last 5, 6, 7 presidents.
Very focusing on domestic issues. There's things I disagree with him. There's things I disagree with everybody. But this is someone who's clearly got his head on straight, level-headed, understanding, and being that principle to defy against Trump is definitely something that Trump and especially AIPAC definitely doesn't want in their base. So this headline here saying Trump melts down over one Republican who dares defy him on Iran. Representative Thomas Massey has stuck to his guns, often in opposition to Donald Trump. This is from the New Republic. Donald Trump is kicking Representative Thomas Massey out of the mega tent for daring to object him to war with Iran. Get this bum out of
an illegal war launched on a country that was no threat to us. Why would anyone be against that?
Office ASAP, Trump wrote on Truth Social Monday, resharing a lengthy screed he had posted about Massey the day before. Trump had written that Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky is not MAGA, even though he likes to say he is. Actually, MAGA doesn't even want him, doesn't know him, and doesn't respect him. I feel like we should call this the era of golden shower mean girls, because that's what I'm seeing here. He's not part of the club. Doesn't want to be part of the clique.
The clique.
What do you want, bitch? He has a negative force who almost always votes no matter how good something may be, the far-right leader posted on Truth Social Sunday.
The far-right leader. Trump's a leftist. Let's be honest. Israel first, Zionist, leftist.
Sudden rift followed accusations by Massey that war with Iran was not constitutional. Massey also chastised House Speaker Mike Johnson for particularly handing over Congress's sole authority to declare war to the White House, questioning on...
So when Trump went to war in Iran and dropped bombs, he literally committed a crime. He doesn't have the authority to do that. And Piers Morgan says, well, every president's been doing that since blah, blah, blah. Who cares? That's like when judges say, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't care if you've been doing it wrong for 30 years. You're doing it wrong. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing it wrong.
Line why the leading Republican lawmaker did not call us back from vacation to vote on military action if there was a serious threat to our country. Massey offered Trump a full-throated endorsement in the 2024 race on the basis that he would prevent needless wars abroad.
And what happened?
He's a simple-minded gangster.
Yes.
Or grandstander, sorry, who thinks it's
that too.
Good politics for Iran to have the highest level nuclear weapon while at the same time yelling death to America at every chance they get.
Yeah, that's their whole argument. They chant death to America. I wonder why a country of 90 million people who's constantly on the defensive and you're trying to go after them. Back in the 90s, there was something called the clean break strategy, where they were going to go after 7 countries in the Middle East. And they're not doing it for America. They're doing it for that little New Jersey country over there, Israel. Libya, Sudan, I forget the other, and they've struck Syria. They've struck every country and basically overthrew their leadership or put in some puppet. In Syria right now, there's a former head of Al Qaeda is running Syria right now. And they've hit every country except the very last one, which was Iran. That was number 7 on their list. And now they're making the motions. They're doing the gestures.
It is just baffling that this is the same guy who went after Obama, who went after Jeb Bush. Remember that? He went after Jeb Bush by saying his brother was the notorious liar that got us into war with Iraq. How he's able to manage all that? Just blurting out the obvious, telling the truth, scolding people right to their face, and now becoming that person.
Because he's a hypocrite, Zionist liar.
He yelled at Jeb Bush for his brother lying us into war, and now here we are in 2025, where Donald Trump is that person. We would almost be better off with Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush would just do it with a smile on his face. Trump is just the cold sword to just reveal that the deep state, the national intelligence, and the war machine is continuous, no matter who's in charge. That's why they let a guy like Trump to become president in the first place, because he was able to sell you out. We had a spectacular military success yesterday, taking the bomb right out of their hands, and they would have used it if they could. But as usual, and despite all the praise and accolades received, this lightweight congressman is against what is so brilliantly achieved in last.
So brilliantly achieved. He committed a crime, and it was brilliantly achieved by him. He's so happy. All right, let's go to this video. So in 2004, again, this episode is sponsored by America's Billiard League. Email me, JohnFilax@gmail.com, if you want to get involved. There's a financial opportunity here. If you play pool, they pay out $25,000 every 3 months. No other league is doing that. And $100,000 grand finale for the winning team. So that's one of the sponsors. My only sponsor right now. And also TAC. This is join this for free. We're working on how to email everybody the Discord link, and we're going to go from there.
Tired of government overreach and eroded freedoms? At tac-us.org, we're fighting back. We're the Transparency Accountability Coalition, a nonprofit defending your constitutional rights. No partisanship, just principle. From protecting free speech to demanding transparency, we're here for you. Visit tac-us.org to learn more and join the movement. tac-us.org, because your rights deserve a voice. Act now.
There you go. That's the coalition. There's Piers Morgan. Where the hell did the tab go? The comedians. Do dissidents. All right. Moving right along here. Let's share this tab. And this is the movie. Oh, no. What happened? No. Close. Why does it go full screen like that? Don't do this to me, Poppy. All right. So let's try this. Now let's try this. Ah, there we go. So in 2004, I learned this about Israel. But this has been going on since 1948, and even before then. That's just in 1947, Israel declared itself. It used to be Palestine, and Israel declared itself, took over half that land and declared itself Israel. And then they evacuated 750,000 people over to Gaza and the West Bank. It's called the Nakba. Look it up. It's disgusting.
Dominates American news coverage of international issues.
So yeah, peace propaganda in the promised land, U.S. media, and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is from 2004.
Israeli-Palestinian conflict dominates American news coverage of international issues. Given that news coverage is Americans' main source of information on the conflict, it becomes important to examine the stories the news media are telling us, and to ask the question, does the news coverage reflect the reality on the ground?
Gun battles raged tonight in some of the heaviest... A battle for survival. Yes, for Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat.
The West Bank and the Gaza Strip are under a military occupation. It's the longest military occupation in modern history. It's entering its 35th year. It's a harsh and
35th year in 2004.
Brutal military occupation. And it's extremely violent all the time. Life is being made unlivable for the population.
We have what is now quite an oppressive regime in the occupied territories, where Israelis are lording it over Palestinians, usurping their territory, demolishing their homes, exerting a very severe form of military rule in order to remain there. And on the other hand, Palestinians are lashing back, trying to throw off the yoke of oppression of the Israelis.
I spent a day traveling around Gaza with a man named Jabir Washa, who's from the Palestinian Center for Human Rights, and he described the situation as complete economic and social suffocation. There's no economy. The unemployment is over 60% now. Crops can't move. Thousands
So this is before Hamas even entered the scene.
and thousands of acres of orchards and low-lying crops have been bulldozed and uprooted by the Israeli military. There are checkpoints everywhere. Palestinians can't get from one place to another. Drives that ordinarily would take 10 minutes now take 4 hours.
And in the West Bank, they got it carved up where there's Israeli-only settlements up on the hills. There's Israeli-only roads, and Palestinians get a different license plate than the Israelis do, which is apartheid. They split the communities up. They systematically carved up the West Bank, and they're not even allowed to be there. They launched a war, preemptive war in 1967. They called the 6-Day War, and they took over the West Bank, Gaza, and the Sinai Peninsula, and then they gave back the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt in order for them, Egypt and Israel, not to be at war anymore. So then they're bargaining land, but they still militarily occupy Gaza and the West Bank.
All the main access and R.W.V roads are controlled by Israel. Anything that enters and exits the Palestinian areas is underneath their control. And so everything from getting medical help to getting education to trying to lead your daily life is at the whim of Israel.
There are hundreds of checkpoints in the West Bank.
Hundreds of checkpoints. I got arrested, and the charge against me was resisting without violence. The same name as this channel, same name as this podcast, the same thing. They set up a checkpoint. I went and protested it, and I was arrested for it. Checkpoints have no place in a free society.
Every Palestinian has to walk through a single ride, 2-3 checkpoints. And the system of those checkpoints makes Palestinian...
They just got to wait for hours to get checked through by military soldiers so they can go to work or go to a hospital or go somewhere.
Ordinary people.
Or go to their own home.
People's life miserable.
Your papers, please. Your papers, please. Just like our American cops. Your papers, your license. You got an ID? You got an ID? You got your papers? You got your papers? It's the same thing. And this is the army that's been training our police for the last 20 years. Myron, where you at, Myron?
هون رايحين على القدس بدنا نروح هنا في رام الله من وين نعدي وهي معنا اوراق شوفي هي كله من كوبات علي
This guy has papers and they won't let him through.
كله من المستشفى ما فيش ولا حد راضي يعدينا ما بعرفش ليش ممنوع يعني احنا مش اوادم مش بشر احنا لازم ندخل.
It can even reach very immediate forms of oppression, such as not being able to leave your homes during curfew hours, as the Palestinians are forced sometimes to remain in their home day after day because the Israeli army says...
What does that say? Under curfew, 122 out of 300 days. Wow. That's Jenin. And then Bethlehem, 107 out of 300 days in 2002, 2003. Well before Hamas.
We don't want you out of the house on the street. It means they can't buy food, can't send their children to school, can't walk across the street to their neighbors, can't get medical attention,
House arrest.
can't do any of the basic things that you must leave your
This is who's supposed to have the rightful right to control the American Congress, according to Donald Trump.
home to do. So that's really, that's a horrible way to live your life.
Since the Intifada #2 began, you have a much heightened level of repression. Often,
Intifada means shake it off in Arabic. So it's not something terrorist. It's just the Arabic way to say shake it off. And when they say Intifada, they mean shake off Israel, shake off the oppression, shake off the martial law. It's not terrorism.
often these towns or villages are surrounded by the Israeli army, and people aren't allowed to go out of their village to the next door. It's basically a horrendous situation. It's like living in a very big jail.
When one lives under oppression and there is no other way out, and he's being violated every day by violent...
All right, I don't know if I can show that. So there you go. That's what got me started on Israel in 2004. So for 21 years, I've been studying this conflict. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. All right. And I'll show you again what Trump has to say about... One second. All right, so that was 2004. Okay, that was 2004. This is what Trump has to say.
Well, you know, the biggest change I've seen in Congress is Israel literally owned Congress. You understand that 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it was so powerful. It was so powerful. And today it's almost the opposite. You have between AOC and Omar and these people that...
There's 4 people in the Congress who don't bend the knee to Israel, and they've ruined it for Israel, because Israel has the right, rightfully so, has the right to control the American Congress. This is Donald Trump saying this. You're president.
Hate Israel. They hate it with a passion. They're controlling Congress, and Israel is not a force in Congress anymore. It's just amazing.
It's amazing they don't control our Congress anymore.
Never seen such a change. And we're not talking about over a very long period of time. But I think you know exactly what I'm saying. They had such power. Israel had such power, and rightfully, over Congress.
Rightfully.
And now it doesn't. It's incredible, actually.
It is incredible. Why do they have any power over us? Again, a country the size of New Jersey. Scofield Bible. Those who bless Israel. Remember, Scofield Bible. So there's that. What else we got for the show tonight? Anything? Let's check on OG. No, he's gone. He doesn't like politics. Third Temple. Trump says Israel should... Let's see what else we got here. Peace propaganda in the prompt. Massey declared war. Power inherent. Volusia County Pig of the Year. David's Cash App. Ortiz Officer of the Year Post. Nick Fuentes. Nico Pellis. Intro competition. Police are trained to lie. Let's see what this says.
Think police have to tell the...
Let's see here. Play a little bit of this. A little bit of this. A little bit of that. See what we got here.
The truth? Unfortunately, they don't. Think police have to tell the truth? Unfortunately, they don't. Not during questioning, not during traffic stops, not even during arrests. In fact, they are trained at the academy to lie when it suits them, and most of what they say, it sounds reasonable until it wrecks your life. They'll tell you your friend has already confessed. They'll say your fingerprints were found at the scene. They might even say they have a warrant for you when they...
And who trains the American police?
They don't. And some of these lies have put innocent people in prison for years. I'll show you that one at the end. I'm Jeff Hampton, and in this video, I'm going to show you 10 lies police love to use and are actually legal, and how to protect yourself and shut them down. Because this isn't just about guilt or innocence. It's about knowing your constitutional rights and surviving an encounter when a police officer is not being truthful. Lie number 1, we found your DNA at the scene. Or even better,
I'm going to go pee. Watch some of this. Ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da. $, JohnFilax on Cash App. Send me $5. I'll read whatever you want. I'll read your comment. I'll plug your business. You'll plug your YouTube channel.
We already saw you on surveillance footage. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book, and unfortunately, it's still completely legal. In the landmark case of Frazier versus Cupp, the United States Supreme Court ruled that it was okay for cops to lie to someone about a co-defendant's confession. The court said that as long as the confession was, quote, voluntary under the totality of the circumstances, cops lying about something in order to obtain that confession, totally okay and legal. This was a green light for law enforcement all across the nation to start using these lies as textbook training for all investigative procedures. Think about it. Cops could walk up to you and say, hey, we've already matched your DNA to blood on a victim. Or we've already pulled prints from a weapon that we know is illegal for you to possess. This brings me to the case of Oregon versus Mathiasen. In this case, cops invited a suspect down to the police department to have a voluntary chat. Police immediately started the entire conversation by telling him, hey, we already found your fingerprints at the scene of a burglary. The problem? No fingerprints actually existed. After putting the screws to him, claiming they already had all the evidence they needed, the man confessed to the crime and the court upheld it. Think about that for a second. Even if the lab hasn't tested anything, even if the actual sample or the print doesn't exist, cops can make it up and courts will back it up. This is not just theory. Take the real case of Robert Davis, a 17-year-old from Louisiana. This 17-year-old was interrogated for hours, pressured and scared. He confessed to a crime that authorities found out later he did not commit. Robert Davis, a 17-year-old boy, was sentenced to life in prison, and it took 15 years to gather enough DNA evidence to clear him of this and earn back his freedom. You might be saying, Jeff, come on, this doesn't actually work. I mean, look, I would never confess to something I didn't do. Unfortunately, false confessions happen all the time. Why does this work though? Well, when cops, someone with an authority, approaches you and starts to pressure you saying, I don't really care what your excuse is, we found this scientific evidence placing you at the scene, people start to doubt their own reasoning, and they start to believe that science doesn't lie. But what most people miss is that in the interrogation room, it's not about the science. Cops don't need actual science, they just need the illusion that it actually exists. If you find yourself in a situation where cops walk up to you claiming they already have evidence of you doing something illegal, the first thing you say is, I exercise my right to remain silent, and I will not answer any further questions unless my attorney is present. Then please stay silent. This is a poker game, and cops are allowed to bluff. The second you react to their bluff, they know what cards you're holding. But what if instead of making up evidence about you, cops now claim your friend or family member already told them something about you? Lie number 2, your friend, he already gave you up. This is one of the most emotionally manipulative lies.
So if you ever get arrested, shut up. Shut up. No matter what they say, no matter what they say, shut up. Shut your mouth. You are your own worst enemy. And they will manipulate you. You can see they get to lie to you. Frazier versus Cupp. Why the hell do Americans want Israel in control of everything? It's not Americans want Israel in control of everything. It's Christian Zionists, and they have a lot of control. And they're trying to pass laws that say it's illegal to say what I just said.
In the book, and cops are trained to do it because it works so well. Police believe that your loyalty to your friends or even your family, it's very fragile under pressure, so they lie about it. They'll say, you know, your friend or your family member, they already told us everything. They told us you were involved in it, you planned it, and they just followed along. Again, this lie, unfortunately, it's totally legal. Take the case of Kevin Fox in Illinois. In 2004, police told Kevin that his wife had confessed to helping cover up their daughter's death. That was a lie. His confession, under extreme pressure and grief, landed him in jail for more than 8 months until DNA evidence cleared him. The Fox family, they later won a $15 million settlement for wrongful prosecution.
Good.
So why do cops use this technique? Well, first of all, they've been trained that all of us, all humans, are social. If we think someone's betrayed us, someone close to us, we will act instinctively to try to protect ourselves, and it will open up a conversation starter, which is exactly what the cops want you to do.
So don't do it. Shut up.
They want you to talk. Resist that feeling if you find yourself in this situation, and you look at the officers and you say,
well, you should have just answered their questions. You brought it on yourself. If you just answer their questions, everything will be fine. No. Shut up. Period.
I exercise my right to remain silent. I will not answer any further questions unless my attorney is present. So now we know cops claiming your buddy said something about you, it could be a lie. But what if cops instead start looking at you saying they want to make a deal? This brings us to lie number 3. We can help you if you'll just talk to us.
No, don't talk.
This is the classic good cop lie. They make you feel like you finally have somebody on your side until they slam the door in your face. Cops might say, look, man, I know the DA really well. I'll go in there and I'll talk to him about this. Or they'll say things like, why don't you just help us help you? Or even the classic, the only way this gets better for you is if you cooperate with us. Let me be crystal clear. The police are not your friend if they're coming to talk to you and ask you questions. They can take anything you say and use it against you. Even innocent things that you say, they might interpret it differently. They might manipulate the things you say and use it to make it seem like you might be involved in something you're completely innocent of. Amazingly, the US Supreme Court has not banned this psychological bait. Why? Because they have reasoned that vague promises don't equal coercion. In order for a promise from the police,
and they can't promise you nothing. All right, we're going to the next video. This one's called Favorite Lies Police Love to Use and How to Shut Them Down by Hampton Law. All right, let's go to the next one. Saw that. Here we go. This is a channel called Brandon Aceto, A-C-E-T-O. Why? No, don't do this to me again. No. Yes. This one. Yes. All right, this is about the Scofield Bible.
Are American Christians supporting Israel because of politics?
$sign JohnFilax on Cash App. Send me $5. I will plug your YouTube channel. I will read your comment, whatever you want, guys.
Or because they think God will curse them if they don't? Because that's what millions... Are American Christians supporting Israel because of politics or because they think God will curse them if they don't? Because that's what millions of people believe, literally. So today we're going to dig into one of the most powerful forces in American politics that barely anybody understands. Christian Zionism. So how did a few Bible footnotes change the way that millions of Americans vote, pray, and even push for war? All right, so this is going to be a deep dive. You're about to learn how a mysterious Bible from 1909 rewired modern Christianity and may have changed U.S. foreign policy forever. So let's get right into it. It all starts with a man named Cyrus I. Scofield, a failed lawyer, shady preacher, and former drunk who somehow became one of the most influential theologians in American history. So in 1909, he published something called the Scofield Reference Bible. So on the surface, it looked like any other King James Bible, but it came with a twist. It came with footnotes, so interpretations, and there were thousands of them. Scofield added his own commentary right there on the same page as the scripture. And these weren't just helpful tips or definitions. These footnotes completely changed how people read the Bible. Scofield introduced a system called dispensationalism. Basically, he divided history into 7 eras, or dispensations, and argued that God had 2 separate plans, one plan for the church and one for Israel. Now, to most readers at this time, this was a new idea, but in Scofield's world, Israel wasn't just a thing of the past. It was the centerpiece of the future. Prophecies in the Old Testament weren't metaphors. They were literal predictions, according to Scofield, and they were coming true in real time. And that's
Jesse, why don't you come on the show, man? I'm going to send you a link.
when things got political. One verse Scofield highlighted, Genesis 12-3, became the cornerstone of Christian Zionism. It says, quote, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you.
So this is the Ted Cruz. This is what Ted Cruz was saying.
That sounds nice, right? And that became interpreted as where the you was Israel. As in, if you bless Israel, I'll bless you. If you curse Israel, I'll curse you. And that's because this verse was being spoken to Abraham in the Bible. So Scofield interpreted this as a modern day command. If you want God to bless America, you better bless Israel. And if you don't, well, good luck.
Now, mind you, the state of Israel hasn't even been created yet. This is 1909. The state of Israel, the one we currently know, didn't happen until 1948. All right, I'll email it to you right now.
So this idea took off like a wildfire, not because Scofield forced it, but because it embedded itself inside the faith and infrastructure of millions of people. His Bible became widely popular, especially in Bible colleges, in seminars, and in churches across the South and Midwest America. For many Christians, the Bible wasn't just a spiritual book anymore. It was a political roadmap. Now here's where it gets really intense. So Scofield Bible didn't actually change the scripture. It changed how people read it. And in doing so, it made support for the state of Israel feel like a religious obligation. So that's why you see people like Ted Cruz on Tucker Carlson the other day saying, like, I went to the Senate with wanting to be the main proponent for Israel.
We are commanded to support Israel. And what does that mean?
So it didn't matter what policies Israel had. It didn't matter if they were right or wrong. If they were Israel, they were God's chosen. Now, here's another thing. So
we see an issue there?
There are a bunch of online rumors that say Scofield was secretly funded by Zionist bankers. Yes, the Rothschilds. But there's not a lot of evidence to show that. I mean, believe me, that's juicy. I want it to be the case, but there's not a lot of evidence to show that. So it gets even weirder when you look at who inspired Scofield, this guy named John Nelson Darby. So Darby was the original architect of dispensationalism, and his background is downright chilling. So Darby's family owned something called Leap Castle in Ireland, and it was considered the most haunted castle in the world. There's an estimated 150 dead bodies found in its cellar, and witnesses claimed that satanic rituals were performed
right there, and seances were conducted by his relative, Mildred Darby, a Gothic novelist who wrote about a demonic force that she called the Elemental. So while Scofield was promoting this future-centered Israel obsession of his...
This is the Christian Zionists. This is who they learned from. This is where it started.
It wasn't just theology.
I emailed you the link, Jesse, at your Yahoo.
There might have been a deep, dark spiritual influence behind all this, but that's speculative. Now, think about this. When Scofield released his Bible in 1909, Israel didn't even exist. But just 8 years later, something remarkable happens. The British government issued the Balfour Declaration.
Very important.
A formal statement supporting the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Now, this wasn't just a political move. It was deeply influenced by Christian Zionists inside the British elite, including Lord Arthur Balfour himself, who held dispensationalist beliefs similar to Scofield. Now, even more curious, the letter was addressed to Lord Walter Rothschild. Literally on the figurehead of the letter, it says, "Dear Lord Rothschild." So obviously he's a key figure in the Zionist movement, and this fuels all kinds of conspiracy theories about elite coordination between Zionists, financiers, and Western governments. But this also came during World War I, as Britain was trying to secure influence in the Middle East while the Ottoman Empire was collapsing. Some argue that this declaration was part of a spiritual crusade, part of an imperial chess move, because in the early 1900s, Great Britain was actively looking at the Ottoman Empire's collapse and trying to speculate and divvy up its land proactively, and that's what they ended up doing with the Sykes-Picot Agreement after. So Palestine was seen as a strategic prize militarily and economically, and religiously, therefore promoting Christian support for Jewish resettlement aligned with British imperial interests in creating a Western-aligned buffer right there in the region in the Middle East. So many British political and academic...
So everywhere was Arabic or Arab. And then Balfour, ghetto Trump, and then Balfour wrote the Balfour Declaration to Mr. Rothschild. Rothschild bought a big swath of land in northern Palestine, and then they started making what are called kibbutzes, which are Jewish-only communist agricultural towns, cities, villages. And the Arabs that worked there were now not allowed to work there. And slowly but surely they started buying up land. And then and then they started what's called aliyahs, which is migrating from Europe to Palestine. I could go through the whole history. They started going there. The Arabs started getting mad. They're like, "What are you guys doing, United Kingdom? You're bringing too many people over here." And then the Zionists who were there, and Zionist, again, is not Jewish people. It's a political, colonial, settler movement that started in Europe by Theodore Herzl and was set in motion by, you saw there, what's his name? Lord Arthur Balfour. They started migrating over there. Arabs got pissed. So the United Kingdom says, stop, enough with the migration. And then the Zionists formed little militias. One was called the Haganah, the Sturm Gang, and the Lehi. And these were all terrorist militias. And the Haganah actually became what is currently now known as the Israeli Defense Forces, who train American police.
Elites were sympathetic to the Zionist cause.
Let's talk to Ghetto Trump here. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm calling today because I hear you have been dissing Israel. Is this JohnFilax?
Speaking.
You are a narcissistic, racist, misogynistic, anti-American. Are you even from America?
Yes, sir.
Get JP on the line. We need to pull this guy's papers. I don't think he's from here. I think he's a sweaty European. We will find out today.
Yes, sir.
You're disgusting. Everyone who knows me knows I know you. You're disgusting.
Why did you bomb Iran, Don?
Because Netanyahu told me it's what's best. The Third World War will bring the next coming of the apocalypse, and thus for Christ.
Yes, sir. And you believe that Israel has the right to control the American Congress? Did I hear you say that earlier?
Why not? Every lawyer is a Finkelstein, a Goldstein, a Barberstein. Why not? Why not?
How old was Melania when you guys hooked up?
14.
How old were you at the time?
39.
Where did you meet Melania?
The Boys and Girls Club on Melrose in LA.
Did you and Jeffrey Epstein ever hang out?
Yes.
Tell me more. Where'd you meet him?
The Boys and Girl Club on Melrose in LA. Very nasty city. The people there were very nasty to me. But I met this beautiful Russian girl there. Russian. Oh my God. The sweetest legs. You should have saw her walking around with her math book, her backpack, and her school lunch. She was so hot. Oh my God. The sweetest thing you've ever seen. Oh my God. I wish you could taste it. Oh my God. It was great.
Okay. Yes, sir. How about anything in closing? You want to stay on a little longer?
No, I have things to do. You're not important.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
You will be deported soon. You're in Florida, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. DeSanctimonious will be paying you a visit.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Goodbye.
Bye. See you. Yes. Oh, yeah. Ghetto Trump in the house, everybody. Special guest.
Obviously, including Lord Arthur Balfour, the Rothschilds, and members of the Round Table Group. But here's the thing. The support was not always religious. It was often strategic. They saw Jews as a potentially loyal population in a vital region, in an unstable region that just faced a collapse of a multi-hundred-year empire. So they hoped to appeal to the American Protestant support for Zionism as leverage in geopolitics. And they widely published Scofield's Bible. And
I'm like tearing up. I love that kid, man.
Probably saw this as a soft power move, influencing American opinion through theological channels. So the Scofield Reference Bible came out in 1909, Balfour Declaration in 1917. A little bit weird timing. During this gap, Zionism was gaining traction amongst British policymakers and intellectuals promoting pro-Zionist theological views amongst Americans. And they thought this would help generate grassroots Christian support for Britain's coming actions in Palestine. So here's the question. Could Oxford University Press have political or ideological motivations, not just commercial motivations? I mean, think about it. There's no direct evidence of collusion, but consider this. A British publisher printing a Bible that promotes unconditional support for Jews returning to Palestine at a time when Britain is preparing to take control of Palestine itself. And 8 years before it publicly endorses Zionism through the Balfour Declaration. So that's either one of the most profitable coincidences in publishing history or part of a larger pattern of ideological and imperial alignments. It's almost like prophecy was getting policy back.
I get to party with him all the time, man. Not enough, honestly. We usually visit about once a week. You know, Piers Morgan on the show says, I just talked to Trump last week. Well, I get to talk to Ghetto Trump once a week at least.
Now, this timing right here is just too strange for some researchers to ignore.
By the way, Ghetto Trump always leaves me these voicemails, and I couldn't even play them right here. They're bad. There's no platform I could put them on, but he makes them just for me, this Ghetto Trump that was just we had on. And I play him for my wife, and then we sit there and we laugh, and it's fantastic. That kid's got talent, man.
Or so, the Scofield Bible predicted that the Jews would return to Palestine in a time when it sounded absolutely absurd. Then, within 1 decade...
Prometheus, yes. That kid is wonderful. That guy, Ghetto Trump, he's wonderful. He also has a brother named Dale D'Antoni. Dale D'Antoni, man, if you're out there, Dale D'Antoni, and you want to come in and give us a NASCAR report or the Whistling Dixie or whatever report, would love to have you on, man.
Global superpowers started laying the groundwork to make that a reality. That's why some say the Bible didn't just forecast history, it shaped it. And yes, his entire prophetic framework was built around the idea that the Jews would return to the Holy Land, that a nation of Israel would rise again, that a third temple would be rebuilt. To most people, that seemed absolutely absurd at the time. But after World War II, everything changed. So the Holocaust shocked the entire world, and there was sympathy for the Jewish people, and it exploded. So in 1948, Israel was officially declared a nation. And for evangelicals raised on the Scofield Bible, this wasn't just history, it was prophecy fulfilled.
So yeah, so everyone who read the Scofield Bible thinks that when Israel became a state in 1948, it was prophecy being fulfilled. Prophecy.
Christian Zionism exploded post-World War II. The generational impact was enormous. Religious education started to shape the U.S. foreign policy. Kids were taught that America had a divine obligation to defend Israel or face divine punishment. So there's a quote from the Bible, it's Hebrew 11:16, and says, "But now they desire a better country that is in heavenly, wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for there hath prepared for them a city." And Revelation 2-9 drops a bombshell that conspiracy theorists definitely latch onto. It says, quote, "I know the slander of those who they say are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan, end quote. So passages like that are often interpreted by fringe groups as suggesting that they are imposters within the modern Zionism and fueling.
You want me to slow it down, Mr. Pants? I know you're 75 years old, and I'll slow it down for you. Much love.
Suspicions that Christian Zionists are supporting something that they don't fully understand. Now, that's why I don't like leaping to conclusions with these Bible verses. But then came the Cold War, and America needed allies in the Middle East. And Israel, a democratic Western-aligned state, fit that bill. So
democratic.
Presidents began using terms like Judeo-Christian values.
Yep, there we go. Judeo-Christian values. Every time you hear somebody say that, understand they've been reading the Scofield Bible, and Judeo and Christian are actually, it's like Sovsit. You can't be sovereign and a citizen. They contradict each other. You can't be Christian and Zionist. Those Christian and Judaism doesn't even believe that Christ is the thing, the Holy Trinity, all that stuff. They just think of him as another prophet.
In God we trust.
And those three religions actually have a lot of overlapping.
And Israel became more than just a country, it became a symbol of moral clarity in a chaotic world. So by 1967, the 60-day war of Israel's military, they were victorious, and it was being talked about in church pews like it was a miracle. Best-selling books like The Last Great Planet, Earth connected every news headline to biblical prophecy. And suddenly, Christians weren't just interested in Israel, they were obsessed. And by the 1980s,
they still are.
Obsession got political. Televangelists like Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson weren't just preaching salvation, they were preaching foreign policy. So groups like the Moral Majority turned pro-Israel theology into a Republican voting bloc.
So it became part of the Republican platform. And that's why Republicans nowadays have to bend the knee to Israel.
Evangelicals began to see Israel as God's timepiece. Every move the country made was seen as part of the countdown.
Not America. The foreign country of Israel that didn't even exist until 1948. And Israel is nowhere in the Bible. Israel is actually a person. I believe it's Abraham's grandson, or Abraham's son had Jacob and Esau. I believe that's how the story goes. Don't quote me. But Jacob was renamed to Israel. Sometimes you'll hear the word Jacob Israel. Israel is a person. Jacob. The nation of Israel are followers of Jacob. Okay?
To the second coming. Here's the kicker. This belief system wasn't driven by Jews. It was driven by Christians. Christian Zionists now outnumber Jewish Zionists by tens of millions. And that's why politicians are terrified of them. So they organize.
So they have a huge voting bloc in this country. And they believe that Israel's the Holy Land. And that's where God's going to come, or Jesus, whoever's going to come down, split open the skies.
Massive rallies, pressure lawmakers, and fund trips to Israel for American politicians. Evangelical leaders like Pastor John Hagee say things like, quote, "The day America turns its back on Israel is the day God turns his back on America."
This guy's a scumbag who actually said, the little German guy with the mustache, AF, it's good that he did what he did to bring this prophecy forward.
End quote. So if you're hearing that every day of your life, starting in Sunday school when you're a little kid, it's going to have an impact on you. So this is why presidential candidates fall over themselves to prove how pro-Israel they are. It's not about Jewish voters, it's about Christian voters. Because here's the math. Evangelicals, they make up about 25 to 30% of the U.S. population. Jews, they just make up 2%. So if you're a politician, in a red state especially, or a swing state district, who are you more worried about upsetting? Exactly. Christian Zionists aren't just part of the Israel lobby. According to some experts, they are the Israel lobby. And their loyalty, it's not to a party, it's to the prophecy. And this is what makes the Christian Zionist movement so powerful and so unique. It's not about logic, it's not even about geopolitics. It's about destiny. They're pursuing something. And that brings us to the uncomfortable part. Christian Zionism is often the supporter of the most hardline Israel policies, things that even many Israeli Jews oppose. They back sell.
Well, yeah, and if you're Jewish and you oppose Israel, the state's politics and foreign policy, they call you a self-hating Jew.
An expansion, they support total Israeli control over Jerusalem. They even oppose peace talks. They believe the end times require conflict in the Holy Land. It's a belief system that's not only political, it's apocalyptic. And here's where things get especially controversial. In their book, The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy, authors John Mearsheimer and
John Mearsheimer's great. That's the guy on the right.
Stephen Walt argue that pro-Israel advocacy, especially from Christian Zionism and neoconservatives, played a major role in dragging the U.S. into the Iraq War. Now think about that. Paul Wolfowitz, Douglas Faith, Richard Pearl, all are key architects of the
all Zionists
war. All had ties to pro-Israel think tanks, and all pushed hard for regime change in Iraq. Even though Iraq had no weapons of mass destruction and no link to 9/11.
And the reason they're going into Iran, weapons of mass destruction, right? It's the same lie over and over again. With your money, when you're sweating over a grill, when you're waiting tables, when you're driving a truck, they take a portion of that money and send it over there so they can commit atrocities and war crimes.
In 2002, Benjamin Netanyahu testified before Congress saying, quote,
"If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region."
And look at that.
Winston, that's very nice of you, man, but please don't send money through YouTube. They take 30% of it. I really appreciate that. I'll put the super sticker up, man. Thank you so much. But if you guys could, $ JohnFilax on Cash App. Let's not give YouTube any more of my money, okay? Thank you so much, Winston. I appreciate that, though.
Not so much, BB. What it did do was destabilize the region, kill hundreds of thousands of people, and fuel a generation of terrorism. And yet, many Christian Zionists supported it because they believed in it. It was part of a divine plan. The same playbook is being used with Iran today. Even when the U.S. intelligence found that Iran had halted its nuclear weapons program, Christian Zionists and groups like AIPAC kept pushing for sanctions, threats, and military action, and now they got their wish. Diplomacy is off the table, and in fact, when Colin Powell suggested talking to Iran back in the day, he was immediately attacked by pro-Israel voices in Washington.
That's funny that they says that because Tucker Carlson just interviewed the president of Iran. And all the prostitutes, which is what I call TV media nowadays, they went nuts. How dare he actually talk to the president of Iran and hear what they have to say? We want to feed you this one-sided story. They're the bad guys, we're the good guys. They're the bad guys, we're the good guys. They pose no threat to us at all. But somehow we need to put our American boys in jeopardy and burn through billions and trillions of dollars to fight that country's wars over there. It's nonsense.
Speaking of AIPAC, let's talk about the elephant in the room. AIPAC is one of the most powerful lobbying groups in the country. It spends millions of dollars influencing Congress, shaping policy, and backing candidates. Here's the twist. AIPAC is not registered as a foreign agent. Very strange. So under U.S. law, groups lobbying for foreign governments are supposed to register with the Department of Justice. And
that's the foreign agency registration act or something. Anytime there's a foreign lobby for a foreign country, they have to register. But for some reason, this country doesn't have to register. They don't have to be part of the nuclear proliferation treaty. Easy for you to say. They have a secret nuclear program, but they get to tell everyone else who's allowed to have nukes and who isn't.
Disclose their activities. AIPAC avoids this by claiming it doesn't officially represent Israel. But behind the scenes, it works closely with the Israeli diplomats, pushes Israeli talking points, and ensures that Congress stays in line with Israeli interests. A former congressional aide once said, "We can count on well over half of the House, like 250 to 300 members, to do reflexively whatever AIPAC wants." Now let that sink in. And yet, because AIPAC is treated as a domestic organization,
which it is not,
it escapes transparency and any type of scrutiny. Other foreign lobbies would face strong
and anytime you talk against Israel nowadays, they call you an anti-Semite. So I went from conspiracy theorist to anti-Semite to I've been called every name. I've been called everything but a liar because I'm not lying. Here it is, right in front of your face.
Opposition if they were in this position. But this is how the machine works. Theology becomes politics, politics becomes policy, policy becomes war. And behind it all, a belief system that began with one man, one Bible, and a few well-placed footnotes.
That's crazy.
So where does this leave us? Well, here's the irony. Many Christian Zionists support Israel not because they love Jews, but because they believe Jews play a role in the end times. So in that vision, Jews rebuild the temple, fight the final war, and, well, eventually convert or perish. To some Jewish critics, that's not support, that's exploitation.
So here's a theory I've heard, and I believe it to be true because people who follow the Bible closely, the actual writings, they would say, by the way, this one's called The Bible Brainwashed Christians to Worship Israel. The channel is called Brandon Aceto. Let's see here so you guys can see it. See it right here, Brandon Aceto, if you want to watch the rest of that. So, like you said, they want to build, there's a thing called the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount is where they believe David or King Solomon built. There was the first temple by Solomon. The second temple was King David's temple, and then the Romans came, tore it down, right? And then the Ottomans built the Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock is where Christians and the Jewish religion believe. Well, Christians believe the Ark of the Covenant is there. The Arabs believe that Muhammad rode his horse to that building because inside that building there's just a rock. It's called the Dome of the Rock, and they say the footprint from Muhammad's horse when he descended into heaven or ascended into heaven is from that spot. The Christians believe the Ark of the Covenant is there. Jewish people aren't real people who follow the Judaic religion aren't even allowed to walk on the Temple Mount because they're not allowed to cross paths with the Ark of the Covenant, and they don't know where it was on there. And then another theory I heard directly from the Bible is that the second temple was actually built in the city of David because the Jewish religion needs something called living water. And living water is a constant flow of living water, nothing stagnant, not like a pond, but it just happens to be where the current Temple Mount is, where they want to take it back over so Jesus come down and they can do their thing. Doesn't have living water. But a few hundred yards down in the city of David, there's something called the Gihon Spring, which is living water, fresh, constant water. And in their religion, they needed to do, I think, what's called mitzvah, which is wash themselves before the priests needed to wash themselves, something along those lines. And they needed living water, and it was right there. And they believe David built the second temple in the city of David. What they currently call the Temple Mount is actually the Roman Fort Antonia. And the huge walls that go all the way around is the walls of Fort Antonia, because the Romans came with legions, thousands and thousands of men, and they built Fort Antonia right there. And the western wall of Fort Antonia is what they call the Wailing Wall now, because in the Judaic religion, they believe the Wailing Wall is one of the walls from David's second temple, when in fact it's just the western wall of Fort Antonia. So if they actually realize this, they could build their third temple in the city of David without disturbing the Temple Mount, and they could do their thing there. But they insist that the Temple Mount is where the third temple needs to be built, and all this Armageddon needs to happen. Sinful Toaster, you're right. There's a lot of blackmail coming out of Israel. Epstein is straight out of Israel. There's a reason they will release the Epstein files. And then Patel and Bongino just said today there is no Epstein client list, and he did unalive himself. You're never going to see that. The Epstein stuff, you're never going to see it. When he finally did get busted and had like 64 felonies against him for doing bad stuff to children and little girls, Alex Acosta, who was the senator at the time for Florida, was told this guy's an asset, and he gave him the sweetest sweetheart deal, like a year probation and 6 days a week. He could leave and go to his penthouse suite for 12 hours at a time, 6 days a week. That's what he got for doing all those things from Alex Acosta, your Florida representatives. He was told leave Epstein alone. So let's see what else I got. How you guys like the show so far? Scofield Bible. I wonder what this is. Skip to my loot. 22 minutes. 22 minutes. This guy's good too. His name is The Saint. This guy's a very smart guy. Let's go to 22 minutes. See what's going on here. I wonder where Dale D'Antoni is. I'd love to talk to Dale D'Antoni. Okay. So we got, this is The Saint. Let's see what he has to say. 22 minutes in.
And now Tucker has regained the advantage. This is a hell of a boxing match here, ladies and saints. Tucker has regained the advantage by saying you're lying, and the foundation you're standing on is very shaky because you claim that it was a Christian foundation. And I just exposed that you don't even know the Bible. Extraordinary. But you're saying that you're driven by this verse in the Bible, which you don't know if it's even in the Bible or where. That's crazy. Extraordinary.
So you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it. And you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology. I'm confused. What does that even mean? Tucker,
I'm
a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
see you, Jesse, man. Godspeed, brother.
No.
Hold on. Let's stick on the same.
You're right about that analysis, media.
Point. Stop going.
Again, $, John Felix. Throw me $5. I'll read your comment out loud.
Going on to something new. Tucker, hold him down, Brody. Hold him down. Bro's trying to escape. He's a scared little pig. Look at this pig face animal trying to escape. You hold this oinker down, Tucker. Do it for the people.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what?
Scofield Bible, right there.
Hold on. Define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is?
Bro, stop playing games. Just answer the question.
That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
And so is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
the descendants?
And the nation of Israel was the people who followed Jacob. It didn't mean the current apartheid state over there.
Referring to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes,
it is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister, right?
But just like America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle.
Oh, bro, stop playing games, man.
Yeah, Netanyahu's been the prime minister of Israel for the last 19 years, and he's facing corruption charges. Another reason he wants to keep these wars going, because while he's at war, they can't throw him in jail for the corruption. And he has a international arrest warrant. Let's not forget that either.
Man, can we stay on topic? Stop playing games. You knew what that man meant. It was as clear as day what he meant.
This is silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
you believe that's what God was talking about in Genesis.
I do, but
that country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now there was
1948
time when it didn't exist, and then was recreated just over 70 years.
But I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is. So I
that was crazy. Bro is trying to correct Tucker on theology when Tucker is much more close to a theologian than he is. That was extraordinary. He's like, that's not what it says. Tucker's like, bro, you didn't even know where the verse was. Like, please stop it. Oh,
he sure did, Jerry.
Oh man. Tucker's keep doing work, Tucker.
I don't remember.
Go ahead, Tuck.
I don't remember the scriptural citation, but
clearly,
okay. I keep
like Genesis 16 or something like that. But yes, it's in the earlier part of the book. But the point is,
all right,
Tucker's sick for that. Shout out to Dominic Cave for the work by PayPal. He writes, "The devil's chief tool is deception." End quote. MDB tuition. Sassing or nothing in a real way, man. In a real way. Shout out to those who support the work consistently. I appreciate you.
It's interrupting me before I finish my sentence. It's important to know what you're talking about.
Yes,
I don't know what you're. So you're saying, as a Christian, if I believe in Jesus, I have to support the modern state of Israel.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm explaining for me what my vote motivation is.
But okay, so I'm just trying to understand. You said God tells you to support the modern state of Israel in the Bible, in some place in the Bible that you heard about, but you don't know where it is.
That was crazy.
That's your theology.
You're going back. Am I a sleazy feline again? I mean,
if you accuse me of anti-Semitism again, I will say that, but I don't think you will.
Try to be a little less condescending. I'm trying to have a conversation.
No, bro, you sound he's talking down on you because you are his inferior. But in addition to being intellectually inferior, you're completely immoral. And this goes in line with my 3-sentence Bible. Be yourself, be good to yourself, be good to good people. We have made it clear that you're not a good person. So now the way you are treated is according to your merit, which there is a lack of. So you're going to be treated poorly because you are a person who behaves poorly. Shout out to Abari. Right, this is honestly frightening. What can be done to break the Zionist hold on our politicians? Voting doesn't seem to work. Well, I agree. We welcome you to this thing of ours. Go to thesassin.com, click join. On the 1st of every month is new member orientation.
All right, let's try this one now. Hold on, you guys probably can't hear that. Hold on. This is a debate between a Zionist and a Palestinian.
October 7th was the largest.
What do you think of the state of Israel?
The state of Israel is a place that was designed
for the Jews of Europe, but unfortunately, it's not that simple. There are other people living there. The land was occupied from the very start, and it's gotten to the point of pure apartheid, especially if you look at things in the West Bank. It's inhumane. It's not worthy of the history of the Jewish people as I understand it. What do you think about the Israeli response to October 7th? We're looking at least 50,000 dead people, 20,000 dead children, mutilated people, traumatized people, puts the lie to everything that Israel says it wants, peace and security.
No.
For the perpetrators of October 7th.
See, now this new argument is everything seemed to have started on October 7th. That can't be further from the truth.
I have unequivocal disgust for. It was malicious, it was vicious, it was genocidal, and it was brutal.
And again, Israel has done 100 times worse than what happened on October 7th in previous years. Since before Hamas even became a thing. By the way, Netanyahu used to actually funded Hamas and sent suitcase full of cash over to Hamas. Again, you got to watch the BB files, everybody.
The people who supported it, I think it came either from a place of ignorance or true anti-Semitism. The words coming out of the perpetrators' mouths was not free Palestine. It was not, you are an occupational force. It was chants of Allahu Akbar. It was chants of ancient uprisings against the Jews. It was made very clear to be an attack on the Jewish people and less so on the Jewish state. The documents that were shown, like, no, we want hostages, we want the kibbutzim, we want the outposts, we want towns and villages.
Can you tell Eliezer about your nightmare scenario, what you fear could happen to the Palestinian people?
It could turn into concentration camps, basically the annihilation of people who lived in Palestine.
And what is your nightmare scenario?
The cessation of my homeland, of my people. I don't want to be where my grandparents and great-grandparents were. I don't want to be in that situation.
4 or 5 years ago, a 16-year-old Palestinian girl in the West Bank slapped an armed Israeli soldier. You think that's crazy, right? I mean, it's like a black girl in the 50s in Alabama slapping a sheriff, right? I mean, she's going to be in big trouble. Of course, she was thrown off to jail and everything. And I see that October 7th, I'm not condoning it, but I see October 7th is like that slap of that girl. It was simply a matter of time before something happened like this. What if I come to your house here, right, knock on the door and say, you know what, this is my house now, you got to get lost. I understand that the Jews suffered in Europe. Germany, of course, the Holocaust, Poland, Russia, the Inquisition in Spain, but the Palestinians had nothing to do with any of that. If there needed to be a Jewish homeland to protect the Jews, it should have been taken out of Germany.
I've heard this said to me. Israeli history could be summed up as Jews are persecuted in Europe, there's a Holocaust, they need a place to go, they go to Israel. Some European Jew.
They didn't go to Israel, they went to Palestine.
DNA test, it came back, one little yellow dot. It said 100% Ashkenazi Jew. Thank God I kept reading. There's a information things like, yes, Ashkenazi Jews still trace their lineage back to the land of Israel, to the Levant.
All right. There's a debate. It's called The Enemies Project, a Palestinian and a Zionist Jew. If you want to watch this whole thing, it's an hour long. All right, let's lighten it up just a smidge here. And let's talk about beatboxing. The things, again, back in the day, beatboxing was like, my name is Peaches, and I'm the best. All the DJs want to feel my... So, yeah, that was considered mediocre beatboxing back in the day. And even worse than that. But this is, again, what you're about to hear right here is every noise you hear right now is coming from this dude's mouth.
Feel the future.
That's crazy, dude. And this is some Russian kid. They practice this stuff. And in one of his videos, he actually he does Uber driving, and he goes, "Would you guys like to hear a song?" And he just starts doing this, and they're like looking at him like, "Where the hell is that coming from?" Insane. And they'll just go to a concert and do that and do a. Here's another funny one. Let's watch this one real quick. You guys might have seen this one. It's still funny. Jesse says, "Bro, did you know it's illegal to take a DNA test in Israel?" Yes, it is. It's illegal to take a DNA test because if you take a DNA test, it'll prove that all these white Europeans who were from Poland and all these other places that came to Israel have no lineage to the Levant. Good point, Jesse. And so they made DNA tests in Israel illegal because as far as their government is concerned, even if you convert to Judaism, you have a birthright to go over there and take a Palestinian's home and keep expanding and making this greater Israel project. All right, let's see what else we got here. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Russian BB. Let's see what this says. That's not it. That must be something else. Oh. 1 second, guys. Had Carnivore Mike. Let's see what this is. Oh, okay. Here we go. This is good stuff. This is over in Tarrant County. So Tarrant County is in Texas, and this is where Caroline Fort Worth was arrested for speaking. What they're trying to do is called gerrymandering. They're trying to split up their districts so that the people who vote for specific people they don't want in office are split up in the districts. It's called gerrymandering. And this lead councilman here in Tarrant County is shutting people up and violating all kinds of First Amendment rights and subsequent case law. So watch how he runs this meeting when people try to use their free speech in Tarrant County. His name is Judge Tim O'Hare, and he's a scumbag. I think I even labeled this. This guy's trying to win the scumbag championship. Watch this guy.
And I stand in strong opposition to all the maps presented by these racist law devils from the original slave colony, Virginia.
Remove him immediately.
What happened?
Well, I'm following the decorum policy. We're not going to be called racists. The end. Get him out. So next is Max Potenza.
We thought the guy in Okeechobee was bad, the David Hasselleaf. This is like David Hasselleaf's mentor.
Is
Glenda Diaz.
Decorum policy?
You read the decorum policy and you figure it out.
It's racist in the decorum policy channel.
On behest of that man, the judge, who is nothing but an enemy of the people and a blatant racist.
Remove him from the building.
He said words that hurt my feelings. Get him out of here. Hey, gunmen, guys with guns, get him out of here. He spoke words that I don't like.
To affirm your hate for black and brown people.
Thank you.
So, the kid right here in the green shirt, remove that one from the room.
He dared to clap.
Tim O'Hare, Matt Krause, and Manny Ramirez, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You're all dishonest, cheaters, and racist men.
All right, remove her from the
Remove her.
building, please.
This is America now. Where we have free speech, supposedly.
Aguilar.
Folks tell you who they are. Believe them.
Thank you. The lady and the officers, there's a lady on the aisle.
Who dared to clap.
That just turned around and looked. The one next to her, please remove her from the courtroom. No, the one next to you.
So the lady that sits to his right is a council member who's a black lady. And she actually went and testified for Caroline and Fort Worth. And somehow they still convicted Caroline, and the prosecutor was pissed off because they only gave her probation. He wanted her thrown in jail. Notice the tyrant doesn't remove anyone, the traitor deputies do. That's right.
Step forward, I'll show you. There's a lady on the aisle right there in a gray sweatshirt, the one right next to her. Move her from the courtroom. She keeps clapping every time something.
She keeps clapping.
And you know what, Tim? I think you need to sit there and be quiet and actually listen to your constituents, because your constituents are telling you that they
Get her out of here. I'm the king.
do not want these maps.
Get her out of here.
When are you going to listen to them?
Did y'all hear me? Say yes.
Any calls to have the crowd speak out, I will have, as the presiding officer, I will have the crowd removed. So I will ask you respect.
So he can't. So this lady who's also on the council is not allowed to get a response from the crowd because he's the presiding officer and he'll remove everybody from the room. And cops, why do cops, again, if they took 2 seconds and understood, they have the right to be doing what they're doing. And if they had a decent lawyer who told the cops, don't just do whatever Tim O'Hare says, you must follow the law, the First Amendment, your oath. Instead, they're doing this for this guy. Why does he have this type of control over them?
Not to do that again. If you do it again, I'll have the entire crowd vacate the room.
Okay, they probably don't care. It's probably time to go eat lunch. Everybody's not afraid of you, okay?
But don't expect them to be.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, you do.
Okay.
So.
And Judge O'Hare, as my grandmother used to say, bless your heart.
So down in the South, a lot of women or guys, or the old school people will say, bless your heart, like that sarcastically. In other words, they're calling you a dimwit. Bless your heart. In other words, aren't you dumb?
And I stand in strong.
So it starts over. So there's that. Okay. What do you think, guys? Let's wrap this up. 2 hours, 20-some minutes. I appreciate it so much. Remember, America's Billiards League is a sponsor. Cash App, $JohnFilax. If you want to throw me $5 buckaroonies or even $1, whatever you want, I don't care. I really appreciate it. Let's see what else I have prepared, if anything. Here's a good one.
Anti-Semitism.
So a bunch of these pastors and influencers were paid because to talk against Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Specifically, they're paying over $1,000 to give these sermons at their churches.
Anti-Semitism is just exploding in the church. The ignorance is exploding. Conservative voices, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Mark Dykes, they don't get it. They say God's done with Israel.
Some of you listen to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, and these guys are anti-Semitic. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to say it. They're anti-Semitic.
Maybe you're familiar with Candace Owens. Candace was someone 3-4 years ago I was so impressed by. Smart, articulate, generally, has a more conservative worldview. But she has gone off the rails. She is a full-blown anti-Semitic, Jew-hating person.
That wrong.
And her theology is...
Again, they conflate Zionism and Judaism. They're not the same thing. Zionism is a political idea. Judaism is a religion. They're not the same thing.
Is a part of that.
That's actually Tucker Carlson.
These people are getting paid. See how they always mention specifically Tucker and Candace.
Candace Owens and others are saying we should not get involved with the conflicts in other nations, right? Well, number one, it's not that simple. Again, this is a regime.
It really is.
That wants to wipe America off the face of the map, in addition to Israel.
Nonsense.
What is happening with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens?
Now they just paid this influencer over $1,000 and these pastors just to make these videos and preach this to their flocks.
Right now, Genesis does say, I will bless those who bless you, and I'm going to curse those who curse you.
I'm sorry, but we cannot just keep letting people get away with this. I'm talking about the Tucker Carlsons and the Candace Owens and...
See, it's not organic. They all specifically mentioned they were given a script and they got paid to say this stuff.
Everyone who screamed that World War III is coming, the literal second that America or Israel acted against Iran.
If you're a Christian,
what else would war begets more war?
Please do not get your beliefs on Israel from Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens. Get your beliefs from the Bible.
Brothers and sisters in Christ, do not listen to people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. At this point, cut them off. They have that same demonic spirit flowing through everything that they're saying.
I am speechless, man. The problem is that if people are listening to my podcast, they probably are not the kind of person that can be easily programmed. That's what I would say. You're not going to be able to just say stuff and expect them to just go, oh, okay. They're going to go, wait a minute. They're going to do their own research. They're going to come at me.
Your own research. That's anti-Semitic.
With facts, if I'm missing something, like it's the wrong audience for that. It's so obvious what people are doing. It's so obvious. This has always been a psych game, that it's all about, can we create a psychosis if we keep saying 6 feet social distancing, 6 feet social distancing, save lives, wear a mask, save lives, wear a mask. Like, we get it. I'm about to make a video. What's the bounty? I'll do it right now. What happened to Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson? It says right here in the Bible that we'll be blessed if we go to war, and we have to go to war. What happened? It's just crazy that they don't want to send American troops to die. So what happened?
So there you go, guys. I don't know. That's a good closer. What do you think? Mark Dice is OG creator, very valid view facts, also a writer of many books with proof of conspiracy theories. Yes, he is. He's good. Mark Dice is good. All right, guys. What do you think? That good? 2.5 hours? People coming and going. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you don't hate me after this. That's it. There's Ghetto Trump was probably the highlight of the whole podcast. Let's be honest. He was awesome. What's going on here? What in the world is going on here? There it is. Oh, there you go. Where'd he go? Almost got resurrected. All right, so there you go. Resisting Without Violence podcast episode 1, I think, is in the books there. America's Billiard League. You want more information? Email me, JohnFilax@gmail. If you want to donate, leave YouTube out of it. $ John Felix on Cash App. Throw me 50 cents. I don't care. I think I can do a political show as good as any of these people. I've been talking about the stuff they're now just getting around to talk about. And yeah, let me check and see if anyone donated so I can read their comments. I'm asking you to donate, but I'm not seeing if anybody donated anything. Let's see here. Cash Appicus. Nope, that's fine. Not that many people in here. Hopefully it'll build. Hopefully I did a decent job at this. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and that should be it. Thanks everybody who came. Much love, peace, tranquility. Resisting Without Violence. Let me play the outro, intro, same thing. And we'll get the hell out of here. Man, I got a lot of tabs open. Saw that one. Saw that one. Saw that one. Saw that one. Scofield Bible. That was a good one. Did that already. We watched this guy. Comedians. We saw that one. Yeah. We got America's Billiard League. Let's share a screen. There we go. Share. This is a sponsor now, America's Billiard League. For you that play pool, they give out a lot of money. Even if you don't play pool, you should consider playing pool. $25,000 every 3 months, $100,000 to the winning team at the end of the year. And he did this league right before COVID, but COVID messed it all up. And yes, the Ohio team won that year. They won a $100,000 prize, the most money given out in history of league play, period, point blank. Mike Siegel and his son Trevor, my good buddy, are the ones that came up with this. It's pretty awesome. So there's that. And let me see if I can find that nice video that was made for me. And we'll leave you with that. Thank you, George Daly. Appreciate that, bro. let's go JohnFilax, internet personality. Yep, that's me. Yep. Let's click on that. Let's open that up. Pause that. Let's go to videos. Let's go to this one. And you're gonna hear some familiar sounds here in a second. Let's open that up. No. All right, guys. After this, I'm out of here. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Yes. Much love. Really appreciate you. Thanks for coming to the inaugural episode of Resisting Without Violence. And thank you to Rami and Joe Black and Ghetto Trump for showing up. And that's it, man. Everyone have a good day. I'll have this play us out, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Yes, I have this recurring charge on my monthly statement, and I can't figure out what it's for.
Well, we'll certainly do our best to help you. What does the charge say on your statement?
Well, it's a $275 charge, and it just says Iraq War.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. The Iraq War cost the average American family over $16,000.
Are you kidding? Well, I never signed up for that.
I'm sorry, ma'am, you don't sign up.
Because law enforcement takes human suffering and turn it into cash.
JohnFilax, uncompromising truth, peaceful resistance every week.
Because first of all, you rarely recover anything, you rarely prevent anything. No, it is true. I'm a police accountability activist for about 20 years now. How many bad cops have you arrested?
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Everybody have a good day. Hit the like on your way out. $JohnFilax on Cash App. Much love, everyone. Have a good day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.